We're here.
Hello, we are here. Welcome, everyone, to today's show. So, I'm super excited, not because I'm a manifester, I swear, just because I just like getting into all the types. So,
I'm excited just to be here, Moana. We're doing it.
we're doing it. We're
We're
doing it.
doing it. Yep,
Ah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So
it's gonna be a good time.
so today
Um,
we go over the manifestor. We're going to go over some slides of the manifestor. We did the generator last time, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
I had some generator guests that were like, "Oh, wow, like I can't wait to start implementing that stuff." So, I'm super stoked. I did invite a couple manifestors to the show. They might have gotten impatient and left.
Mm.
They're just like, "What is this waiting?" But maybe they'll catch us on the replay. Either way, we have a fabulous show planned for all of you. So we're going to start us off with our lovely slides like we usually do because we're all about, showing off our visual, what's the word I'm looking for?
Stuff. Our
Visual
visual
cues.
graphic prowess, our visual
Yeah,
prowess.
yeah, that. Like we don't
Yeah, yeah,
want you
that.
to feel like
Yeah.
you're just listening to some talking heads. So, here we are. Manifestors. We're a small group, second rarest at only 9% of the world's population is a
Yep.
manifestor.
Yep.
And the strategy is to initiate and inform. So the initiating is like starting stuff, but we also have a made up strategy, which is the informing part, which we will get into in a bit as to why it's made up, which is fascinating. I only found out about that recently. And the themes are peace when you're in alignment and anger when you are not quite living the way
Let's
you're
remind
supposed to.
everybody what this strategy is for. The human design system is not a belief
Mhm,
system, it's a science. You
mhm,
empirically witness it and watch it repeat, like every good science should repeat itself in person after person, and it does. And this strategy is a way to get you, to initiate you, LOL, into witnessing that you can interface with the genetic workings of your own body as it relates to your design. You could get to interface with exactly what's happening very much through the strategy and the themes. The themes and the strategy give us all the roadmap and the road signs and the markers along the way. It gives us our mile markers. It gives us everything to see that, oh my God, this is a thing. And if I use my strategy and my authority and I understand these themes, I can see it. I can see it. I can work with it. I can understand it. I can interface with it. I can change it.
yes. One of the things you mentioned last week, which I thought was like, is looking at your themes as a chemical response that's going on in your body. And that is what's bringing up that sensation, that emotion. It's
And don't even look at it that way. Understand it specifically as a chemistry inside your body, no different than ladies have a monthly cycle or boys go through a growth spurt where their voice changes. These are all
mhm,
chemistries.
mhm,
Those are more profound, easy to see. These are
mhm.
easy to see when you look. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we got our intro. Boop. Okay, so more on our lovely manifestor. So this is very cool. So they get their name from the ability to just manifest without reference to anyone else. So what that means is, so last week we talked about generators. They kind of need something to respond to. Manifestors don't have a reference point necessarily. They can just get up and do whatever
And
without
do.
needing that.
Yes. Without
Right.
needing that. And the other thing about the manifestor, just to keep in mind, is we're all here reacting to life. So no one gets out of the reaction game. We all react to it. You don't get to leave that behind. And the generator specifically is. They are oriented as a responder, and that's where their truth comes out. This is about getting at your truth because the truth then guides your decisions, and your decisions lead you to the peace and the satisfaction and the victory and the surprise and all of that. So just to keep in mind, this initiating this whole that they get up and do, the manifester is out front. They do. Everyone else is some form of waiting to be invited, waiting to respond, waiting out the lunar cycle if you're a reflector, and or waiting to see where you waited to see that you're not disappointed, basically. Um, so that I just wanted to point that out.
Mm.
They specifically just sort of do, and it can be a lonely place because they are not happy if they're not doing, is the thing. So it's not that they can't, because the
Mm.
generator can do all day long. The projector can do all day long. The projector recognizes something great, suddenly they're doing, but
Mhm.
it's in reference to what they've recognized. Generator is in a responsive mode. They're oriented in response. They can respond, and suddenly they're just like a manifester. They're out doing in a sense, but they're not a manifester at all. They will run out of that just do until they are responding again. It'll sort of wear down. The manifester never wears that down. They're always stuck out front doing, and they'll get restless and they'll fall out of their signature of being at peace with themselves if they're not doing. You take a manifester and plop them on a couch and tell them to sit there, they won't be happy very quickly. Very quickly it'll be bad. I
I
mean,
was
that'll be bad for anyone, but it'll be bad for them and because they have to do,
don't
initiate.
don't even get me started with uh getting ahead of myself because I'm like, "Oh, that's looking at the creative urge and rest cycles." So I don't want to get into
Mhm.
that quite yet. But you did touch on the anger bit, right? So the not self, like we went over, is anger. So anger pops up in, a few ways. One of the ways is when there's resistance from the outside. Let's say you want to do something and there's things and people getting in the way. It's like, I want to do this thing and you're like in my way, and immediate anger flare up.
Yep,
That's very, very much my experience as
yep.
a
No,
manifestor.
that's the manifestor experience, emotional or not. That's the experience.
Yeah. And another is also trusting, like, because it's very easy to doubt yourself when you're a manifester, because of this is what I was going to talk about, your creative urges. So manifestors work in cycles. So you have, I like to think of it like a bear. So if you had to think of a manifestor as an animal, it's a giant bear. The bear is either hibernating or it's like mowing down all the things, but usually mostly hibernating until it's ready to come out and do the things. So when a manifestor is in their rest cycle, it can feel very, very um like disorienting, because it's like, I want to do stuff, but I literally do not have the energy to do it. I don't
Or
have the
not to do it well, not to do it
or
well.
do it well, or the inspiration to do it. Like, yes, you can slog yourself through a rest cycle,
Yep,
but your
and
body
suffer,
and
and
suffer, and your
suffer.
body hates it. It's like,
Yep,
I don't like this. So whatever you're outputting at that point is like nowhere near as potent, I would say, as
correct.
if you were in your creative urge.
Right.
But that's where the, I guess, the distrust comes, because that way of operating,
It's new.
no, it's not just new. It's the fact that if you compare the rest of the types, they don't really operate in that manner. So everyone around you has demonstrated more consistency, because we do live in a generator
No,
world.
hold on, let's correct
Yes,
that.
let's correct it.
All the non-sacral types have that exact same thing.
Mhm.
It's the not self themes that will show up quite differently,
Yeah.
and it will move them differently. That's all
Mhm.
true. But
Mhm.
each and every it's only the sacral that is designed to buzz through with its energy until it physically falls asleep because it's burnt out that energy and
Mhm.
degenerates into sleep.
Mhm.
We generate ourselves awake, and we generate,
Mhm.
and then put the manifestor, the projector, the reflector, no sacral rest cycles become wicked important to all y'all in your own particular way.
Right.
The
It's
manifestor, I will
just
say, does
different.
sprint
Mhm.
more. That you guys sprint more.
Yeah.
You tend to sprint more
It's
because
like
you're
a
all like,
mad dash. Like, for
yeah,
example, what, again, from my understanding, the reflector, their cycle is very much connected with the moon. So their energy is going to go up and down and, wax and wane according to whatever's happening, not only with the lunar cycle, but also planetary transits, because even the smallest transit affects their gates and their
affects
channels.
them, yep, and makes them a being,
Right.
one of the other three types. Absolutely.
Which we don't want to get into too deeply because we have a whole episode on reflectors. However, projectors, again, from my understanding, they are moving at a slower pace, but they are able to nap and then get back into a thing and then nap and get back into a thing. But when a manifester is in their rest cycle, they are deeply, deeply exhausted. They are tapped out. Like their body does just not have the energy unless they're borrowing from sacral, but then they have a hangover,
Right,
which
then
is
they
what we
have
call
they
it.
have an issue with it. Well, of all the types, the one that wants to go the fastest, that goes is the manifester. They just want to go fast. And I don't mean reckless. They just want to move. Let's move it along. As soon as they see there's the next step they can take, move this along. All the other types may wait, may hesitate, may do this. The manifestor would like to move to the next thing. And because they can initiate without waiting for a response, that's why their
Hmm.
strategy is to inform the other because they're
Hmm.
so far ahead. And a different animal, another animal to add to that, I get that, you know what, that hibernation cycle is a great analogy. But let's not forget the stallion, the wild stallion. The generators are like the workhorses that are more herd together, and they're as long as they're happy, they're working. And the manifestors are much more like the stallions out in the field. Try and bridle one, you know what I mean? Try and get a thing on. You have to break them in order to get a saddle on them. You have to chase them down to get a saddle on them, and they don't want to be broken, you know.
It's like, no,
So
don't tell me what to do. Absolutely
right.
not. But as a manifestor myself, I'm still working through trusting that cycle because
Yeah,
you start to feel crazy. It's like, how do I even know that this is correct? I just want to rest, but everyone else is doing it. But I want to do it,
that's
but
the
my body doesn't want
experiment.
to. And
That's the
yeah.
tr that's the trust in the experiment, Moana,
Hmm.
absolutely, because all you have to do is watch it play out for a week or so. As soon as you surrender enough to allow that work rest cycle to just cycle back and forth, look at it like the cycling of anything that cycles quickly,
Hmm.
um, and follow it. The second you're even a little drowsy, like a little tired, go to sleep right where you are. If it's in your chair or something, lay your head down. You'll only be there for 10 or 15 minutes. Um, just totally turn off for a little bit because when you come back, you'll be able to go right back at it. And you'll find, did you need a half hour? Did you need 15 minutes? You need an hour and a half for lunch every day. And then another time somewhere along the way. What are you
I,
finding with all
I'm
that?
gonna have to disagree with that.
Okay.
So, what happens usually from manifestors, myself included, being around other manifestors, is we have ignored this cycle for so long. What happens? So I'm gonna tell you guys a story. I swear this story has it's not a complete tangent and it is completely related to what we're talking about. I tend to make
Talk.
analogies with stories. But here's what
Yep.
happened. I was on a boat, a research vessel, 134 feet sailboat, and I had never steered a boat or a ship this size before. And the first time I was in at the helm, they're like, "Okay, these are your coordinates. Keep at this coordinate." I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." I'm like, "Oh, the boat's moving a little. I think I need to turn." And I turned it a bit. And when I turned it a bit, I noticed the boat didn't move. Let me turn some more. And it didn't move. And I turned it some more. And I turned it some more. And I kept doing it until my watch officer rolled by and he almost had a heart attack, going, "Oh my God, we are going to jibe," which is the boat basically doing a complete 180. Because what happened is all those turns caught up to each other
Right.
and now it's going to go complete 180 and it was going to be a disaster. So it's the same with the manifestors and their rest cycle because we ignore it for so long. Ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. When we give ourselves permission to rest, I know manifestors that are stuck in like a 2-year rest cycle. It's just all of those ignored rest cycles caught up, and your body's like, finally,
Right.
you are
Right.
listening, and we are not gonna move. We're not
For
gonna
quite
do
a
it.
for quite a while. Well, then it wasn't so much that you disagree, you just put a finesse on what happens to the
Hmm.
people when we've lived that long, because what I'm saying is still true. And you
Hmm.
start to get into your experiment, you'll see that as soon if you're caught up enough on your rest, And really and
Mhm.
truly, I mean, that's you're resting the psyche at that point. The body only needs a couple days,
Mhm.
physical rest, but or a week or whatever. But all I'm getting at is once you start to get into a rhythm of allowing yourself to,
Mhm.
when you feel low, fall off. Fall off.
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of a work day, go out your car and recline that chair and just see if you fall asleep for 10 or 15 minutes, literally, or nod off. It's true. It's
Mhm.
true. If you're at home, get in your recliner, whatever. If you can, get straight into your bed and then get up when it's done, because your clock will wake you up. If you're a
Mhm.
manifestor, your body still wants to do even when you're sleeping. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not gonna do, obviously, but I'm just saying it's waiting to wake up as you start to come to those stages, waking up. It
Mhm.
wants to do. You want
Of
to
course.
do. So don't think
Absolutely.
you're gonna just fall down and stay asleep the whole time. And if you
No, no,
do,
of
allow
course.
it. If you do allow it, just allow yourself, instead of the doing, focus on the not doing and the actual sleeping and resting
Yeah.
for the first month, and find out where you need that so that you can fit the doing in around it, and you'll see, oh my God, I get so much done.
That's
That's
so hard as a manifestor. You have no idea. So the first time I allowed myself to rest, I
was
was
miserable.
going crazy. I was losing it. It was not fun. But anyhow, let's
But
move
it's
on
true.
to our
Is it not
aura.
true? But you
Yeah, it's
found out the
absolutely
truth.
true. I did. I'm like, because it feels like that rest is going to last forever. It's like this is never going to end, and then so there's that aspect of the trust. Sorry, I'm like backpedaling a bit. But then there's also the other aspect of the trust is the creative urges can be completely random. And there's a trust of like, this is a crazy idea and I have no idea if it's going to work or anyone's going to buy it or if anyone is going to think this is important.
Or if
So
it's something I
there's
really even want to do.
no, there's the want to do thing if it's a true creative urge.
Right,
If it's
right.
a creative urge, the want is there, but the
Yeah.
self trust is like it's like it's what is it called? It's like a battle
In
between
conflict. They're in
yeah,
conflict with each other. Yeah.
exactly. The desire to want to do it and then the is it, this makes no sense. Like, why do I want to do this? Like, everyone else is going to be like, what are you doing? But my inner whatever, what would I say, my inner voice is saying I should do this. So actually, this is something that I heard a while ago, that the manifestor creative urges, like, manifestors have a direct line to the cosmos, the universe, whatever. So these urges are coming from somewhere. It's not necessarily like an outside response thing, it's an inner response thing, which is a great segue into our aura and
To the
why
aura. Yeah.
we are closed. So we're closed so we can birth these things that are coming from deep within us without outside influence.
I like to explain to the manifestor that closed
Hmm.
and repelling sounds bad. When
Yeah.
they first hear it, it sounds like, I don't like it. I get that. I get that because it sounds good. Trust me, I didn't like that. I have to wait to respond. I thought that means I'm not a doer. And then I found out, oh, I'm not. I'm a generator. Um, Closed means you're closed off to the influence of the other when you're creating.
Yeah.
Trust me, you'll
Or
be
actually,
open to
not
the,
even when you're creating. Even when you're in a rest cycle, you can just
yeah,
rub
you
people
still
the wrong
close.
way.
Absolutely. You're closed. You can close yourself off easily. It doesn't mean you're a closed off person. You will open up every time you're in the mood. You feel like it. It's right for you. There's still a world you live in with people. It doesn't make you the fool on the hill or the wretched guy who's always like Ebenezer Scrooge closed. The repelling, same thing. Look at repelling like what you do to stop mosquitoes from biting you. You put the thing on and it repels them. If the skeet or whatever you use, or let's say whatever, you make a smoky fire and it repels the mosquitoes. And mosquitoes is good because everyone else is like a gnat and a mosquito to you. They're buzzing around trying to get your attention and influence you, and your closed and repelling aura is there to sweep that resistance away. Every manifestor knows this feeling that I'm aware of. Everyone has known this feeling. You're able to move through people.
Yes.
I'm moving through. And whether that's literally like in a crowd
Yeah,
or
in a crowd.
not, or even literally like at work, at this, at that, when the manifestor's on the move, other people tend to get out of the way. If they don't, they're actually there to resist that manifestor because that manifestor didn't inform them. The informing is to drop the resistance so they don't have to repel so hard. But that closed and repelling puts a shell around them. Even when a generator aura comes and envelops the manifestor is still intact, isolated from that aura, even though they're within the aura.
Mhm.
Even though the,
So
the other types intermix with that aura, but the manifestor acts like a little bubble inside that aura that's still got its little shell around it.
so I don't know if it was you, Danny, or somewhere else. I thought the best analogy I thought about the aura is it's like a force field.
It's a
It's
force field.
it's just a force field that's like with you no matter where you go.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so in my experience, and this happens on a daily, like I will be
Shields
in
up.
a room full of people and no one will interact with me. Everyone will interact amongst themselves and I'm just in the corner. Always, unless I open my mouth and
And
say
initiate.
something,
You're
and then
initiating.
someone, and this is what you said, when you inform, which is beautiful, we're just segueing into our strategy,
Mhm.
that force field comes down a little and they can peek through the force field.
And
And
they're less
that's,
alarmed by the dangerous manifester that does not need to wait like they do. They're the dangerous, bad, or hard manifester that might get angry. So none of these are words people say. They're senses that they get. The manifester that just is going to go do the thing that's a little scary. I don't even know what they're doing. What if, and they just don't
hmm
know. So the people closest to you as a manifester very often will be the ones that give you the most resistance until you start informing them. Well, no, I'm still doing this. Don't stop me. I'm about to go do this. And then suddenly they're
hmm
like, oh, I know it. I don't like it, but I know what they're doing, and okay. And suddenly the resistance goes down, the acceptance goes up, and the manifester does not have to be so isolated because they can be
hmm
lonely creatures. They can be lonely creatures because they
Oh,
they
believe me, I know.
because they just can't tell, and they feel alien to the other types.
hmm
They just feel alien. What would a wild stallion feel like plopped in the middle of a workhorse was herd? It's like, what the hell am I
Insane.
doing here? What am I doing here? What the hell? You
Yeah.
know?
So
Whereas
it
all,
it can
yeah,
it can like you said, it can be super, so it's the close and then yeah, repelling. Like it's like the magnet that's doing the opposite thing. It's keeping
yeah.
people away. And sometimes the magnet works the other way where you're bringing people in. But in my experience, again, it's my circuitry, maybe other manifestors have a different experience. 9 times out of 10 it's repelling. Maybe 1
Hmm.
out of 10 times it's bringing someone in. Usually
Well, that
it's
bringing in,
repelling.
just don't forget, our aura goes into the other, manifestor or not. As
Mhm.
soon as we humans are in auric contact with the other, my aura exchanges with you like Wi-Fi, yours with me like
Mhm.
Wi-Fi. We don't have words for it here on the surface where we think we're living, but it's there, and
Mhm.
it goes in like an incredibly sophisticated Wi-Fi in a way, because it's every piece of my definition goes into you, and you backwards into me.
Mhm.
We're now in partnership with each other. So ultimately, that aura stands there as a way for that manifester to basically open up, and plenty of people it will be right for. Plenty of people will be right for it, because don't forget, they just put that in you. Hey, that person just filled in my G center. I don't care. Yeah, it's a little weird. No one seems to talk to them, but I'm talking to them.
Mhm.
There's a person naturally recognizing that this feels good. This person feels good.
Mm.
Although they're still a little bit of a strange foreign entity, because if they were a generator, the generator would understand the other generators quicker, better, faster in a way. But it doesn't mean they
Mm.
don't understand the manifestor quickly. And not to mention, when they open their mouth, they will inform us,
Exactly.
and their
As soon
words
as that
will
happens.
impact us. Yeah.
Mhm. Because when I start saying stuff, then they're like, "Oh, you're like so friendly." And
Yeah.
it's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I just if I don't say anything, people just stay away from me. I don't have to say, I don't have to do anything. I'm just there,
Yeah.
and people
And if a
just stay
generator
away."
doesn't say anything, is sitting in a crowd, or even a projector, somebody's going to, or the other three types, someone's going to come up to them ultimately and say something.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that doesn't happen with a manifestor. It's just, if you do a social experiment, you will see a vast difference in the amount and the
Yeah.
intensity in which it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about the informing piece. So this is
Yep.
interesting. So the informing thing only happens when you use your actual voice, like saying it out loud, because manifestors have a motorized throat.
Yep.
So it's only when you say it out loud that force field comes down. And then, like you said, the resistance melts away or parts away. So
Right.
that's one part. And then the other part is to start developing a trust with those internal urges. And even it might feel like, okay, no one else operates like this, those urges are coming with their direct line with the universe, the cosmos, whatever, and they're coming through because you are the only manifester that is getting that urge. So this is another very interesting thing. No manifester is alike. So whatever urge I'm having, another manifester doesn't have that same urge. So
Right.
all of us are here to bring forth a very bespoke creation from our creative urges. So if me as a manifester just lets that urge die and I never act on it, there's not going to be another manifester to pick up that slack. It's just
Generally,
dice.
unless they're working in some kind of partnership with each other, but
Exactly.
absolutely.
So
No, you're
that I
absolutely
found,
right. So,
found that very fascinating. But yes, sorry, Danny.
what else about this informing? This informing, obviously, you say it out loud to the other, but what you're doing is you're informing with all the things. And the things that you're least comfortable with informing are the things that you need to practice your strategy of informing the other so that they know what's the scoop and so that you do the hard thing. Hard things make life easy. You got to understand that. Hard
Hmm.
things make life easy. It's hard to go to college, but if it's a good college and you got something out of it, life got easier. It's hard to have kids, but imagine your life without them after you have them. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard. It's hard to stay married, but whatever, it suddenly it's not. It's hard to build a home, but now you got a place to live, right? Hard, hard, hard. It's hard. I play the piano. It took forever, and now I'm so happy. Hard things made my life so much better. This informing will
Mm.
be hard. You will come into stunning moments where you don't want to say anything because the manifester, there's one thing that they can know is that they know that people try to stop them and or get in their way, and they just don't want to say anything because they don't want anyone to say no. That informing is not there to get permission. It's there to inform them.
Yes.
So
It's
you're not.
literally just like a, I'm doing this, just letting you know.
So there's two types of informing. There's just the informing, hey, I'm doing this. There's several types. There's the informing that can be very stern. This is what's gonna happen. That's
The
okay if that's
warning informing.
it's a warning informing. There's the polite, regular informing, and then there is absolutely asking for permission. There is because you can't inform me you're going to take my car. It's my car. It's not yours. You have to ask my permission, um, and other things. So they'll find a blend because sometimes it's really polite to ask permission even though you don't need to, and that way you start to find out, does this
Mm.
other being try to stop me? Because you're again, all of our other strategies are innate. Your guys' strategy has been cast upon you as a way to interface with your own
See,
mechanics.
you just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to get into why informing is a made up strategy for
It's made up.
manifestors.
It's made up for the
It's so we
manifestors.
get along with
It's so you
other
get along
people.
because you don't
Otherwise,
need us.
we'd be dictators. I mean,
Yeah,
we
you don't
were.
really even need a strategy, so to speak. If it was just you guys, you would already just do your thing all the time.
Pretty
But
much.
you need us. We need you. We're humans. We're here to commune. That's the nine-centered way. We're here to get along, to
Hmm.
be with, to be communal, not communist, but communal.
Right.
And go out and strike out and do our own things. So informing is strongly informing and politely informing, asking permission, and a blend therein, because every manifestor child has to be strongly informed and taught to ask permission and be courteous with its manners. Yes
Hmm.
ma'am, no ma'am, thank you, please. All the stuff that you would do, they need to be taught those manners so that they can be a competent manifestor in the world as soon as they take it, because they don't it's not 18 when they take it, although sometimes it is, but mostly it's not. Mostly it's they take it as soon as they're old enough and strong enough to motorize themselves out the door. That's their way. And you've got to make a wide berth so that they can do that. So,
Hmm.
but you got to teach them those manners so that it's ingrained in them. So they know
Hmm.
when to ask it permission, because every manifestor is part of their strategy and forming. As soon as you're about to inform someone, I'm about to quit my job. Yeah, you're going to quit your job. But before you do that fully, you've got to actually make yourself an impact list to inform your own self. What is my impact on the world if I quit this job, if I make this move, if I do this thing? You don't need to make an impact list over silly stuff like what brand of toothpaste am I going to buy it, but maybe you need to inform or ask Mrs. Do you mind if I buy this brand of toothpaste? I want to try it. because maybe they don't like it, and then if they don't like it, you buy it anyways and get them their toothpaste. All I'm getting at is it's a mixture, and they have to find a blend because it'll be different for each person, and part of that blend becomes making an impact list. Who I'm about to quit my job, I need to write down everyone I will impact. I'm going to impact my boss. There's 2 people here I care about. The production team's going to be impacted. The guy I get my coffee from every morning at Starbucks will be impacted. There's 3 of them there. I know them all by name. The lady at the bank, if I move, I won't see them anymore. I'm going to impact my parents because I'll move farther away. I'll move closer. Make the full and leave no one out. Not
Mm,
because they're so
that's
important to your life,
genius.
not because they're so important to your life per se. The guy that makes the coffee, that, but you're impacting them. They're another human that you're in communion with, and you just write them down, because what it does is it makes a broad, creative tapestry of what is your impact in this moment. That guy that makes your coffee might be the straw that breaks the camel's back to say, you know what, I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna re-up for another year and do this thing because actually I want the money. I'm good enough, but I am heading out. I know I'm heading out, and if you piss me off, I will head out sooner. You can inform them of that, but it might have been the ladies at the bank and the guy that makes your coffee that just was that last little thing that said, I'm gonna stick around the rest of the time. Not the big part of it, but I'm just saying you just don't know. You just don't know. So you have to
Mm.
make, so look at all this tapestry. You guys got all this complication to your actual strategy and authority, to your strategy. You're informing, you're asking permission, you're strongly informing. I forgot the way you put it. I liked it. What's the way you said it? Strong informing. You use the
Oh,
word
that was the warning.
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 Oh, shoot, well, rhymes. There's warning informing, there's regular informing, there's asking permission, there's making your impact list. And a good manifestor, once they make that impact list, they'll see, oh, I can do that in my head most of the time. You know what I mean? So it just happens automatically. And so you do all of this stuff as it relates to one by one. You see where do you have to do the stuff until you become really good at it. And that's part of the entering the experiment. Witness where that blend is for each person, each situation along the way, and suddenly get really good at it. You might say,
Hmm.
I like warning and forming. I'm going to just do that more often. Don't do this because I'll do that. Listen, I'm doing this. And so that might really fit one manifestor where that's more what they do. But then they'll find that they turn a lot of people off at times, and they'll suddenly tone that back and get more regular informing, not warning informing. And they'll make a blend. You'll make a blend, and you're looking to be at peace.
Yes.
Peace gives you the things. Are we there yet at peace where we talk about that?
No, we're definitely you're getting ahead of yourself. But I will quickly wrap up the unnatural feeling of the informing.
Yep.
Because it's a made up strategy, it doesn't feel good for a manifester to inform. It feels
At
awkward,
first.
it feels clunky.
Mhm.
Eventually it becomes part of your just natural way of being, but that only happens because of almost like muscle memory. It's
Yep.
because you're doing it so often, you just like by habit now do it. But when you first do it, it feels very, very weird, which
It's
is why
totally
it
true.
helps when you were raised to, ask permission, which then turns into just plain old informing. But we kind of went over some of the obstacles of being a manifester, but one of them is when you are in what your creative flow state. One of the most annoying things that can happen is someone comes and interrupts it. So you're like in your groove and someone knocks on the door, immediate reaction is usually anger. And then it's very hard to get back into that flow that you were originally doing.
It's true.
And yeah, it's a thing. It's just, I mean, unless you're a recluse that lives in the middle of the woods, you're probably going to have this happen to you. And it's just something to be aware of. Other, like we mentioned before, manifestors are inconsistent with their energy, and they get judged by non-manifestors. They get judged by themselves. They're like, I should be this way, I'm not this way, what's wrong with me? You need help. But manifestors resist the help. They're like, no, 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 I want to do it alone. But manifestors are here to do things in communion with others. And
Period.
to
If you don't, you'll end up falling apart because
exactly.
you need your generators. The generators are the workers, not the slaves. The workers, they have to find their own creative way, because we're just, if you put us to work, suddenly we're buzzing with energy all the time, at the thing. If we're empowered, then that's for us. So
Hmm.
they need it. Yeah, I agree with you on
Exactly. And the last is distrusting themselves, right? It takes a lot of experimenting and going through various cycles of rest and creative urge for you to finally realize that, you know what, your design is exactly the way it's meant to be, and everything happening inside of you and externally is all working to your benefit. So that's something to consider. Is there anything you'd like to add, Danny, before I go on to the next slide?
that. No, move on to the next one. This is moving along nicely. I'm pulling up a
Beautiful.
separate chart for
Oh,
cup.
I have it on. Don't worry about it. I'll pull it up when it's time. So,
No, I'm pulling up an advanced chart.
oh,
That's
beautiful. So,
Yep.
manifestors in alignment. So, when they, when they're trying to manifest, can't speak, when they're trying to master, is to be inspired, right? So when they have their creative urges, they're inspired. They're like, oh, I'm inspired to like go do a thing. And when they are in that feeling of trust and making stuff, everyone around them starts feeling inspired. And you start taking action, and then you rally people to come help you with the thing. And basically, again, like I mentioned, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, is you are completely honoring your creative cycle. I'm learning this myself. I'm like, am I in a creative cycle? Am I in a rest cycle? Am I just slogging through? So it's a lot of playing around. But when you are truly in groove, you know exactly when to rest and exactly when to turn on, and be okay with switching on and off, even if the timing feels incredibly inconvenient, like what Danny was mentioning before.
Well, that
Uh,
comes all in. I love this last thing, being yourself unapologetically. Here to start things, get in that groove. Yep. And do that thing that does inspire you.
mhm,
Just like the rest thing, being at rest is, again, back to the rest cycle, which is so important.
mhm. And then you're here to start things, but not necessarily finish them. That doesn't mean that manifestors can't finish anything. That's not what it means at all. What it does mean is your role is more to be that initial fire starter. And then you rally support from your generators, your gens, to help you bring that to the finish line. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. So your role, which it rolls into, is to initiate things, so bring things into the 3D and have impact. So impact can be small things, like what Danny said, two big things, like convincing someone to move to a different country. So
Right.
it could be small, it could be little, but either way, a manifestor is here to make other people go like, "Oh, okay." But they won't necessarily recognize that, which is funny. So you might be impacting people all around you, but they might not be aware of that. So that's something to consider. So some special traits that a manifestor had is we keep talking about working together, but they don't necessarily work well together because they want to tell people what to do.
As long as they're
They're
on the same path. If they're
they're
truly on the same path, they'll work well independently of each other, even if it's right alongside each other.
Oh no, I'm not talking about just manifestors. I mean even
Oh,
with other types. Like
oh, okay.
they're not the best team players. They're either a leader, like they're the ones leading the charge and everyone falls in line, or they end up being a lone wolf doing things on their own. And again, it's not saying it's
Right,
impossible.
right.
It's just it's more natural for them to do either one or the other. And like
And
I
have
mentioned,
inter listen, it's totally appropriate for any manifestor inside of any group working to have intermittent contact with the group, not necessarily steady.
hmm,
Unless the job may demand it. You're on an oil rig, you know what I mean? You're steady with the other generators, but you probably shouldn't be on an oil rig unless you're some kind of foreman. You know what I'm saying? For too long, because unless you're young, because manifestors, when they're young, they can choose to burn themselves out in certain ways. But we've all seen it. I'm just saying they'll survive it. You'll survive it up to 30 and 40 years old. After that, you are killing yourself ultimately.
it's-
And I've seen manifestors survive it. I don't suggest it. It's just that
so it's
certain,
interesting that you mentioned that, because so as having a non-defined sacral, the nuance that comes with that, and this is what Ra, the founder of human design, said. Manifestors don't know when enough is enough when it comes to work. So they can just keep going and going and going and going until that one day their body just gives up.
Yep.
They have either a horrible case of burnout or illness. Sometimes
And
illness
the more
manifests in
motors
weird
they
ways.
have, the harder that tends to land. The more
Mm,
motors they have, the harder that tends to land. You're a manifestor with one motor, as I recall, the emotional solar plex.
yeah.
Okay, and that's plenty of motor. You know what I mean? Um, our guest has a solar plex and an ego, so that ego could very easily make our guest that'll be coming on later, work too hard. Oops, so that's a
Ah,
thing.
see that I just learned something. I didn't know the more motors you have, the harder the burnout. Interesting.
Well,
Huh.
generally, it's a rule of thumb. It's not a
Yeah.
guarantee because
No,
everyone's got
of
their own
course.
awareness, obviously.
But that's very cool. I had no idea. So like I mentioned, absolutely that's why they are more suited to being at the helm of things because they really don't like being told what to do or how to do it. So like you said, wild stallion, you need to give them roaming, free, treat them like, okay, you know what, you can do it the way you want. So like in a workplace setting, for example, they do really well as like contractors or as consultants because they can come in, do their thing, and then float away instead of like just
Especially if
grinding
they're
it out.
impacting people. If they're impacting people with what they do, then it feels great. They're at peace. The great, think of what this is, the greater the impact, the more at peace they are. These things go hand in hand. That's the thing. The lesser the impact, the less they like the thing. And they're
Mm,
perfectly fine with leadership above them as long as it's an institutional style leadership that no one has a choice about. The government says pay your taxes. Okay, whatever. I don't like it, but that's that thing. It's more institutional. It's embedded. The
mhm.
laws of nature say this is going to happen this way. They don't mind having that as the laws of nature as a boss. They just don't want to have a guy right next to them telling them what to
Micromanaging.
do, unless
Yeah,
what's really happening is they're telling them what to do and then the boss is agreeing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That
The-
that they can live with
It,
ish.
it, it, it drives them bonkers. So
Yep.
we mentioned this one already. So they can initiate freely, right? So they can initiate a really big project, but it can be really difficult to stick to it if they're doing it by themselves all the way to the end. So what might happen, I'll like paint two scenarios. Scenario one, a manifestor is trying to initiate a project solo without any help. They might initiate parts of it, go into a rest cycle. Can come out of the rest cycle, initiate the rest of it, go into a rest cycle. And it might need a few cycles to bring it to completion if that's what they choose to do. Or they might get bored and go on a different track. Or
Uh,
another scenario is if they choose to work with others to help bring it to completion.
all day long, all of those things. There is a caveat to all of that. I mean, plenty of them. The thing is, their impact is felt best as they bring things to completion.
Hmm.
So because they're designed to do, if that's something that they're doing, they're going to do it. And all the defined egos out there tend to want to bring things to completion. All the gate 53s and the gate 42s, well, the gate 42s tend to want to bring things to completion, even if it's in an open sacral, which it
Hmm.
would be. Um, Plenty of things. But you're right. They're designed to fall off the moment they want their rest and someone else is doing the job. They're designed to specialize their job so that they're not doing everything.
Yeah.
Don't make a manifester the chief cook and bottle washer of the cafe. You know what I mean? Make
Don't
them the
do it.
chief, make them the cook. Manifestors as cook sounds great. You know what I mean? Manifestor as bottle washer absolutely will be the best bottle washer ever as long as they can come in and float on out when they're done. You know what I mean? Without a lot of rules around them. They will figure out
Hmm.
what's best. Let them figure out what's best. And if they truly aren't doing what's best, it'll show up. They'll
Hmm.
start being angry, dissatisfied with things. They won't be at peace. They can't tell what the impact is. They don't
Hmm.
like it. They get agitated and
Yep.
they start, anger starts at agitation, or agitation might be only anger at first, or it might only be agitation at first before it's anger. There's a whole mixture. This whole word anger is like a chemistry that pours off the gall and pours into the body, and it's like an acid. Again, no different than, dude, when you fall in love with somebody, right? Don't you get that
Yep.
feeling? There, does your heart go pitter patter type thing? You just get a thing, sweaty palms when it's new,
Yeah, it's
something.
like, the butterflies in the tummy.
What
Yeah,
what is
sure.
that? What is that's not a construct of the mind. That's a chemistry in your body that your
Right.
mind is interpreting. In fact, it's hard for our minds to even interpret that because we're all like, "What is this? What do I feel?" Da da da. Well, all sensations are that. I only pick falling in
Mhm,
love because it's something people can identify with and whatever.
mhm.
It seems like anger isn't that, but you know what? If my manifestor friend never gets angry, I don't know how much they love me or not because I only know what boundaries I'm pumping up against, and they get to see their own boundaries. Remember, they don't necessarily know where they're about to get angry. They have to experience that. I mean, they may have an
Mm.
idea and be like, hey, this is going to make me a better. They have an idea in advance of certain things, but that's only some things. That's not all things at all. You're going to find out what makes you angry because
Ah.
you're going to bump into it.
Right, it
And
has to happen in the moment. Very similar
right,
to what we were talking about with generators last week. So it is a
yeah,
thing. It's like you won't know until it actually happens.
until you're reacting because no,
Mhm.
because we're all in the reaction game. Life makes us react to what the hell, what the
Mm.
hell, we're always reacting to that. So that's needed. But at the same time, they're going to spot this anger and they're going to say, this is a chemistry. I'm agitated. It's pouring out. It's uncontrollable. Some manifestors will describe, I have visions of chopping their head off. They know
Oh,
they're not
yeah.
gonna,
Oh,
they're
no,
not gonna, but
for me, it's usually punching them in the face or
punching in the
throwing a
face or
chair through the wall.
inflicting some kind of damage and using your power to stop
Yes.
them, to
Oh, it's
stop
so
them.
satisfying. This is
It
why there
seems
needs
it.
to be more rec rooms. I was so sad when they were like, "Why are you shutting these things down? They're great. Let me go smash some things."
Right, let them smash things, let them break things, but understand at the same time, we all know we're in a world with rules and laws. I don't know any manifestors that go around chopping heads off. They don't, and it happens inside. And so what does it do? It eats them up.
Ooh.
If they're not in their experiment witnessing, anger is a road sign. It's great. It tells me when I'm off course. You know those
Mhm.
bumps on the side of the road? Brrrr, and they get louder the
Oh,
more
I
you're
I
on them?
hate those. I can't
Right.
remember what they're called, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
that's
little,
to make sure
yeah,
you don't
but
fall asleep at the
to make it
wheel or
if you
crash
fall
into
asleep,
the
it wakes you
concrete
up and
wall.
stuff. Right, who no one really likes them. When you hit them, it's always jarring, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And stuff, and you wouldn't wanna drive on them unless you're being a total douche and driving the rest of the people in the car crazy, you know? Or maybe you like the sound for a few minutes and you drive on them, but mostly you don't, right?
Right.
I've driven on them for a while because I like the sound for a little bit, but mostly I don't. That's what it's like. You come into it and it suddenly puts you back on track. It's exactly like those grooves on the side of the road, the speed grooves to let you know that you're
Mm.
veering off. And so you
So
look at them that way. And so
what
that's what that anger does.
so I also kind of touched on this. So back in the day, long, long time ago, I don't ask me when. Maybe Danny knows. Manifestors were actually the oligarchs, the royalty, the monarchy, the dictators. They were the
The
ones,
controllers,
the controllers. They were
the
the ones
owners.
who set things up, the
Yep.
lawmakers, the decision makers. But that
The
role,
tyrants.
tyrants, that role has now been shifted away in our current society. So manifestors are not really there to do that anymore. So we're
Although they can.
they
They're
can.
there
There's
to
there's
they're there
there's
to
some.
share that during this interim period. Rob would always point out that that's shifted. It's moved on, and he's right. It's moved on to the projector, but the projector doesn't always know. So they're
Mm,
actually currently in practical terms, they're sharing that with the manifestor. Manifestors and
mm,
projectors are sharing that because we
interesting.
still we still follow the manifestor in the wake of their impact. If they make an impact, everyone's like, "Oh, look at that. Let's go do that." That's
Mm,
not the projector's fault. That's not the manifestor's fault. That's not the gener. It's not no one's fault. It's just a
mm,
thing. So it's a
mhm,
shared thing, and we wouldn't want to tell our manifestors to get out of the business of running a country. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Just make sure you got a lot of projectors around because they need to lend guidance whether you like it or not.
mm,
Whether you
mhm.
like it or, in fact, if you don't like it, then you need them.
Ah,
Because if you're not self that
woo,
doesn't like it, and it's the wisdom inside you that knows that we need them. It's not because they have the greatest ideas, it's because their aura penetrates us and makes us direct our own selves as well as their
mm.
direction. It's a
That that's gonna be fun to talk about next week, also in depth, because we have a projector episode coming up. But this I definitely want to drive this home with our
we'll take
last
it home
point.
and get our guest on. Yep.
Yeah, manifestors do not have a set pattern of work. So for them to slog in, day out, day in, day out is a recipe for burnout. It's not the best way to go about doing things. And that actually brings me, Danny, we can stop sharing the slide. And I was going to have you answer a submitted question, a viewer submitted question. They could not join us tonight, but this is coming from a manifester. And I thought, ooh, we can answer this on stream. And I
We
think
will
it'll be
answer everything every time. We're here to answer.
right.
That's a
So,
generated response, baby.
this is the question. So, as a manifester, is there a way to know that I am going to burn out before I actually burn out? How do I know the energy wall is coming without running into it? So, do you want me to
I,
take this first or do you want to
no,
give your
would
two
you take it
cents?
first? I'm going to go
I,
fill my water. I'm going to fill my
yeah,
water and I'll be right back.
perfect. So, I'm just going to remove you for a sec. So this is a fantastic question. The minute, as a manifester myself who has experienced this, the minute you feel even the slightest bit of tiredness or exhaustion in your body, you have already gone too far. Because manifestors are meant to rest before they hit that wall. So the wall means you've already gone too far. Now, you can keep running on empty by borrowing sacral energy, but that means your burnout when it does come to fruition is just going to be that much worse. So, that is my 2 cents as to how you avoid burnout. Just really listen to your body and take rest even before you're tired. Like you really shouldn't be going beyond, don't even hit the tired wall, because when you hit the tired wall it's basically you've already hit it. So just go rest before you feel it. Ideally is how you prevent burnout. So that's my 2 cents, Danny, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, so we have to add just the notion of you're watching your general level of agitation, your peace, your
Ah.
because running up to the need of rest may not run into full on anger. You know what I mean? Because don't forget, you're going from 0 to angry. So there's agitation, there's annoyed, there's what pick 10 things to put in between there, and or 5 things so that you can have a nice gradient of recognition. But you measure that I'm not feeling at peace. You measure a slight disorganization. When the manifestor is on, there's no disorganization. They're solving problems and they're doing. As soon as you start to get a little disorganized, just even a little bit, oh, I'm probably coming up against my wall. Jot it down, pour through it,
Mm.
go steamroll right through it because you know you want to anyways, and then recognize, and 2 hours later when you look back at your notes, that was the moment. You know what I mean? So you can see it the next day
Ah.
and the next day and the next day. So that's again, entering
Mm.
the experiment is about seeing it. And once you see it, that means you've experienced it.
Mhm.
You have to have the knowledge, then you have to experience the knowledge working, and you can only do that when you're looking and see it, and now you've experienced it, and suddenly it becomes a knowing. The same as you wouldn't like, you don't go around doing something stupid where you're gonna fall off and always get road rash. You know what I mean? You found out I get road rash if I bank that turn too deeply on my motocross bike or whatever it is. Um, you find out the hard way. So
Mm.
most manifestors will have to find out that they have to find out the hard way. It's a way to truly know.
Yeah.
But,
I,
but
I I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but yes. So let's bring our guest on.
mhm. Did we
They've
do?
been
Did we answer our
yes,
person's
that
question?
that
Yeah.
was the question. So she is coming right on. We're gonna have her introduce herself. Welcome.
Hi, Kara.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can most definitely hear you. How are you doing? How did all of that feel? Did it land? Were you like, nah, that's bullshit?
No, I took notes. Yeah, all of it landed very nicely. One of the things that was kind of a new thing for me was the when you were talking, I don't know all the technical terms, but like when you were talking about like me having a defined ego and emotional center, and the defined
Oh, the
ego like
motors.
working, yeah, working too hard, that that resonated because I feel like my whole life I've been overriding everything and it just
Mm.
tracks with that. And just the whole like more motors equals higher burnout, I feel like I can totally see that. Yeah, there was so much. And of course, like the anger piece is like probably one of the things when I first learned I was a manifester that like really I could totally see it because I would get like super mad. And now like I can tell like if I'm mad, it's like, well, what am I doing or not doing, or who did I not inform or whatever. Like I don't tie everything to it, but when I don't know exactly what's happening, I'm like, I'll look to human design to see if there's any kind of clues.
Right. Where did you stop initiating and stop doing? Where did it
Yeah,
stop being peaceful to you and start becoming, arduous and difficult? Where was the resistance? Was it them or was it within me? And
yeah. And I think like a lot of it for me was just like not speaking up or just like lots of people pleasing, just keeping quiet on things. And in the last couple years since I found human design, I've like paid more attention. And then I recently took on another job. And in that job, I feel like it was like an experiment for me to like practice being a manifestor, like
yep.
informing when you were talking about like informing about quitting, that was me the whole time. And
Ah,
I quit earlier in January, but yeah, I definitely would like speak my mind exactly how I felt like when I felt it, and I could see the impact that it made. Like it made it very clear like how this was all supposed to work, or like seeing it work in real time kind of. And I don't know, it was pretty cool to get to that point because I feel like up until then it was just like looking at my chart and like, Moana and I like hashing it out over like a Zoom call or something. And I don't know, it's different when you can actually see it working out in real life. It's pretty cool.
right. Yeah, seeing it is the thing. You got to see it. Seeing it, that awareness makes everything. Well, what does that say in the background? The Sally Show?
Oh, so she's gonna
Well,
introduce her podcast to us.
yeah, so this is actually I don't know if it can go any lighter, but this is it says the salty screen. That's like my art page.
Oh,
But
I
the
love it.
podcast that I'm a co-host on is the Siren Calls, and my handle on Instagram is the Salty Siren. And this kind of looks like the Salty Siren. So it's like it's whatever you
Right.
see, that's what it is.
I love it. I like a neon thing. I would love to get one. I see it back there and I'm like, I
Yeah,
want one of
you
those.
should. I
Yep.
felt like so official when I got it. I was like, okay, it's real.
So for
No,
anyone who's wondering, what is your podcast about?
So the Siren Calls is basically one of my friends and I, we just like hit record and we talk about like any kind of like connections we've made or like spiritual experiences, and we'll bring on people like yourselves, like related to different topics like human design. We've had I think somatic practitioners and Reiki instructors, like all kinds of people come on and share what they have to offer. Or like if it's people we've worked with, we'll have them come on. But the whole idea of the Siren Calls was it was a place for us to catch up, but also let other people see a glimpse into our conversations and like what we're going through right now. And it's been its own little experiment. We've been going for a year now, and it's been super fun. And if nothing else, a way for us to connect. But we have built a little community along the way, and it's cool to hear like feedback on it and hear that people are actually listening and getting something out of it. So yeah, that's what the Siren Calls is.
when's it on? Are you guys YouTube? Where are you located?
We're on Spotify mostly. Apple is still a struggle for us to get on for some reason. It's been super difficult, but we don't have like a super set schedule, but we do have like all of last year's episodes on. We've recorded pretty recently and we're going to start recording again this month, but it's a very like flowy experiment too because um Kelly, my co-host, has like a whole bunch of like career stuff and a new boyfriend and like all these things. And then of course me too, like I have stuff going on. So when stuff comes up, we're just like, oh, we'll check in later and record whenever. So it's just for fun. Not too serious. It's just, trying to practice being ourselves. How about that?
I love that. That sounds great. So you don't have a set time that you like broadcast or just sort of hit or miss?
No, I mean, yeah, we probably maybe we will one day, but right now it's just kind of like, here it
Oh,
is,
perfect.
whatever.
Yeah. You're here when you're here, you're not when you're not. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. Before I get started on just reading for you, did you have any questions about yourself, your design, any of the things that seemed important to you? Is there anything that floated out that you wanted to bring up first or that you
Um,
had something to say about?
Honestly, like, my initial thought when we talked about this was, like, whenever I get readings, I it's kinda like an artist, right? Like, I don't wanna tell you, like, what I want, I wanna see what you come up with,
No,
because
about
I
what you
feel
want.
like
Do you
when
have
you
any?
have different readers, it's like, I don't know, I wanna see what kinda insight you get, but in general, I would like to hear a more, like, holistic, like,
Yeah, yeah.
interpretation
Holistic.
of my chart.
Good. I love that. Thank you for not getting too mired into the weeds because a lot of people do
Yeah.
that. Holisticness is great. Couple holistic things about this chart that we're looking at here. First of all, here's a girl who's very strategic. All the arrows point to the left. We went over some of the arrows. I've done my own podcast on arrows. It's on. I forgot where we're at. We got kicked off of YouTube, so we're someplace else. Um, yeah, but all this leftness means that here is a manifestor that has to literally identify with the work you're doing. You don't leave the work you're doing up to chance. And quickly if you do or don't identify with it. You suddenly run out of the energy to do the thing. If you don't identify, you're quickly not in the mood. Now that mood is a chemistry. It's not a mental construct. It's your body warning you, no good, no good. Don't like it. Does that sound familiar?
100%. And this is why I love human design because I'm like a hardcore personality junkie. Any quiz, I'll take it. I want to know what pizza I am. Like, give it to me. But
And
human
that's
design is like a whole other level, and stuff
well,
like this is just
again,
like an X-ray.
it's an X-ray. It's a great thing. And X-ray is a diagnostic tool. This is no different. It is totally a diagnostic tool. This chart should be on every driver's license. It should be in every medical record. It should be part of the child's school thing for school. You name it. It really should be there for all these things. It's going to usurp modern psychology one day when they finally wake up and things start here because it's no longer it's not a belief system. Again, it's a science, and we see it as we experiment with it. Another holistic thing is there is this split definition. Split definition means one side desperately wants to leap across the void to the other side, and it's always looking to be in partnership with others to hook it up. While at the same time, you're a manifestor. You hate having to be in partnership with others to hook anything up. When I say hate, that's relative. It can be an annoyance. You don't necessarily want to, well, you pick your words, and that split, have you ever looked into the split that's on your chart?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. That's one part where I'm not totally like,
Yeah,
what
okay.
you're saying makes sense,
I'm
but
a split definition. I'm a split definition, and when you're split definition, it just means that see the head and the ajna of your chart, they don't connect to the throat.
okay,
You got a
okay.
lot of
That
action there.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of overthinking going on.
Well, no, you don't overthink. You think. Please change that. There's no such thing as overthink. You got that defined head. I've got that same configuration in my head center. I got a 63, a 64, 47. We don't overthink. We think. It's okay. The mind never shuts off for us. That's okay. Um,
Yeah, well,
that's a,
it would be nice sometimes.
as you follow your strategy more and you honor your rest cycle more, you'll see where it shuts off. But it's never supposed to per se. It's always working a doubt factory, a confusion factory, a realization factory, an idea factory. These things are
Yep, that's
going together. A lot of factories up there. Anyway,
yeah.
gate 11 in your body graph is dying to get to the manifesting part of stimulating everyone. So if you can't stimulate people with your ideas, that's a problem for you. You don't like it. It starts to get annoying. You're trying to, you want to. Now you get to know, I'm not always going to stimulate people with the whole concluded story that the storyteller would tell if they have that whole channel. You can start to realize sometimes I'm not capturing the other with whatever the idea is in the idea set I'm trying to stimulate them with. I just have the idea.
Just a T, Danny, we seem to have lost our guest. I think they're going to pop back on when they have a chance. But in this time, what we can do is we can put a link to Kara's website. So, Kara, if you don't mind, pop in your link when you have a chance into the chat so everyone can check out your podcast. And now I'm going to put you back on stage.
What did you catch
Sorry,
all of that?
it
Where
just
did you fall off?
it dropped off like right at the beginning, honestly, when you were talking about, I'm trying to remember what the last words I heard
Well,
were.
gate 11. Gate 11 doesn't connect to gate. There's no gate 56, right? That's not a problem.
Yeah.
That's your part of your perfection. It only is a problem when the mental functions of your idea factory, which are very creative and very abstract. See, that's the thing. You've learned to fear your abstractness because it seems too weird, and it's not. And so your ideas come flying out of you, and the frustration and the things and the agitation comes in when suddenly the other isn't really taking it in because you just haven't found a way to stimulate them with whatever is your abstract notion. So here you are. I'm wicked excited. I got this thing. I'm ready to share. I'm ready to share. And part of your incarnation cross demands you share the things you're enthusiastic about. So there you are, enthusiastically dying to share, share, share. And suddenly it doesn't quite come out right, or it doesn't seem to impact them the way you want it to. And then suddenly you start getting agitated about that. That's not your agitation. That's your not self's agitation. You don't have a gate 56. You're not going to stimulate them all the time. You're not going to really get through as the full storyteller to finish the idea into something. Ooh, we have a creature. Willie, my new kitty cat. Say hi, everyone.
Oh my gosh, how
He's
cute.
Willie. He just got here the other day.
Mine's
Right,
back
Willie?
here too.
Here you go, honey. We love you,
How
Willie.
cute.
Yep, love you, Willie. And he's going to interrupt things. By the way, he may cut me off. Don't you step on this thing, Willie. Yes. So the next one is you don't have a gate 43. You have a gate 23, right? And gate 23 is, so what
Yeah.
it means is my manifestor body strategically is identified with the things I'm trying to do, and I have an explanation for everything. 23 explains things. It's very metamorphic. It splits. It's called splitting apart. It splits apart the crazy and puts it into words. This is the voice that says, I know. So here you are, and you've got lots of individual channels in your body graph. Those are knowing channels. So here's a manifestor that, when called to share, which is often, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. And so you always have this I knowing going on, I know going on. And but you don't always know. The concept factory right above it, that gate 43 would then empower, is the hang on, I gotta move, Kitty. Sorry, Kitty, love you. You're gone. Is the concept factory coming out of 23 is about insights, and it's breakthrough. The gate of insights. The I Ching called it the gate of breakthrough because it's aha, a sudden knowing that is so potent that you just know. And if you only have a gate 43 like me, I don't have a gate 23. My split is the gate you have. Suddenly, I know doesn't turn into an explanation. You have forms of I know, and the explanations sometimes are scrambled while the confusion factory in your head is putting it all together. That's not a problem. That's
Oof.
something for you to wait for. Does that sound familiar?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I can't like name off specific
No,
examples,
no.
but
Well,
yeah, the whole like weird ideas and like
yes,
knowing things,
it's just the
that hits.
knowing. Right. And so inside that knowing isn't always the putting it together in a way that comes out cogently right up front. So allow yourself some time. That's all. Because these splits are here for a reason. They're designed to make you intelligent. What are you into, Kitty? Oh, get off of that. It's gonna get hot. Come on.
I was going to say, I'm like, you had other questions too. Let me see if I can
The
find
next
one.
split, and you, by the way, this split is something that you're not going to be as in tune with as you will the other two splits because it's unconscious. That red gate coming off of 23, it's in your unconscious design side. It's something you have to come to see as a trait, as a characteristic, because it's not in your conscious personality side. You don't have the easiest the red stuff we don't have easy access to. It's like a tunnel. It comes out of nowhere. And the black stuff we've lived with because it's our personality side and we're more aware of it. Like the details of gate 62 off the top of your throat. You see how you have a gate 62 there?
Yes, I was just looking at that.
Details, details, details. The knower who's talented and always enthusiastic, as soon as she feels called to network with the others and manifest them and make an impact, I'm keynoting you, has all the details, loaded with details. She knows she's got details and a great idea of what to do with those details, and it's showing up, but it's a little confusing.
So, Danny, one of the questions that was submitted by our guest ahead of time was looking at the chart and maybe looking at some themes to collectively think about ideas and like what direction to go in.
I'm giving holistically the things that annoy this manifester the most. So I'm hoping that this is
I love it.
diagnostically
Yeah,
helpful.
this is perfect.
Yeah, it's again diagnosis, hon. Diagnosis, Kara. It's just we love, right? Humans want to love. When was the last time you wanted to kill somebody, like literally, or you don't? That's not what humanity's about.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, I'm not talking about those moments you want to wring someone's neck. I'm talking about like literally, and we
Well,
don't.
usually it's like I'm mad at myself. Like,
Sorry, Kitty.
like
Kitty, I love you. Down. That's gonna happen a couple times apparently. He's up here on my stuff. So that gate 62 with all of it's the gate of details, and it's the voice in the throat center that has its opinion. It has a logical opinion, essentially. And but it doesn't always have the concept factory from above gate 17 that is this gate of opinions. The opinions need the detail to come out as a logical direction for humanity to marshal itself and make logical systems. You have to wait till that flows through. You don't always have it in the now. The full on formed opinion, you have the details. So that's why sometimes when people put you on the spot because they think you're a natural at it, because you always appear as a natural. That's what the 2-4 does. I'm a 2-4 as well. We're a little natural, shiny little natural, and we're like, maybe. I hope so. We don't always know. These three missing gates between the throat and the ajna give a lot of pause for you to understand why they don't always come out. It's not your fault, nor is it a problem. They're waiting, their special timing, and you'll know because you'll be making an impact. As soon as you can tell you're not making an impact, you're trying to bridge these split gates, these gates that don't have the gate on the other side. You're trying to invent them, and they're not there. And so the being starts to become who they're not. You're not all the polished opinions that has the perfect insight that can totally stimulate everyone with exactly what needs to be said until you're just being yourself. And at the moment of calling, the impact is there. And suddenly all those things transcend themselves naturally. If you try to make this, here's where a manifestor can't initiate. You can't initiate that. You have to surrender and react to the timing.
I
So,
see some jaw dropping.
does that make sense? I mean,
yeah, I'm like catching up in my head. Like, okay.
let's talk
So
about that
like,
head for a minute because we all got the
yeah,
manifestor
because
part. The manifestor part's easy now because you've seen it a lot. That head. Do you have a question about the head center? Because I want to go through this a little for
yeah,
you.
because like I know I have like defined head and ajna, and I like I see that, but I'm also like I feel like I'm really open-minded. So is that where
You
like those
are.
open channels are?
You're wicked open-minded about all this stuff because abstraction, the channel of abstraction, where confusion turns into realization, if you don't know that's what's going on, it just feels like oppressiveness. I'm constantly confused. I'm always overthinking things. The gate 47 is called the gate of oppression. because it's oppressive until you have a realization, and that's the thing.
Okay. Okay, I see. Okay, okay. So it's
So
like I have all
it's
these like pieces, but until I get
pieces.
some kind of
Yeah,
inspiration or something coming through, it like clicks and then I
it
can like
clicks.
say
It
it.
clicks, and then you can
Okay.
explain it with all the details and great ideas. Let's go with your strengths.
Okay.
Details,
Yeah.
explanations, and ideas. They can't always get out until the confusion factory has done its thing and it comes to a realization. Those realizations are profound. They're like, oh my God, I realize. And it's
Yeah.
profound. Yeah, you want to pick up the phone and tell your friend and knock your boyfriend over the
That's what
head.
the podcast is. Just get
That's what
on
the
the horn.
podcast. Yes, yes. That's when the details can be explained through the creativeness of ideas and through the creativeness of the realization that came out of the confusion and through the creativity that is the doubt on the other side. Gate 63 is doubt. It's a lot to doubt things is logical. Haven't we been through this with all this COVID nonsense? We should have doubted certain things about, oh, it's perfect. It's perfectly safe and effective all the time. It's great. Dude, I doubt that you know that. That was the first thing I said to myself, until my family started disowning me. Don't speak against the machine. The machine knows best, and all this stuff. I'm dramatizing what went on for obvious reasons, but I had doubt. I knew 1,000 people that had doubt. What do you mean safe enough? How do you know? Doubt is supposed to do that. What do you mean? How do you know? How do you know? And if they can't clearly show us logically through a series of logical things that tell us exactly how they know something we can logically experiment and verify for ourselves, then we will continue to doubt. It's supposed to be that way. So when people tell you, "Oh, Kara, God, you're always, God, there's so many details I got to go through with you just to get you to stop doubting something and come stop thinking," which you think too much. Learn to meditate, girl. Well, this design doesn't necessarily meditate very easily. Maybe you do, but it was a challenge. Is
Oh
that true?
yeah, it's been years in the makings that I could even meditate at all, and I enjoy it now, but it literally was years before I was
Right.
like
And
able
you
to
do you
quiet.
remember feeling stupid because you couldn't meditate at
Yes.
first? You weren't
Yes.
stupid. You weren't
Yeah.
stupid. Your instructor was. Your instructor was. Not her fault or his fault or whatever, but they were the ones that were, and they weren't stupid. I take that back. They just didn't know, because they think everyone, you clear the mind. No, the open head people, you clear your mind. You're good at that. Us, we're busy thinking. In fact, we're busy putting those thoughts in you because someone's got to do it. Only 30% of the planet has a defined head ajna. That's
Oh,
it.
wow, I didn't know that.
So we're technically doing the thinking for everyone else as it relates to abstract ideas that are going to turn into formulas, opinions, and sudden knowings. These are the things that the mind is doing for us. Doesn't make it right. I'm just saying it's the action of doing it. Doesn't mean the open head people don't have things that show up that are right. It's just that those ideas, knowings, and opinions and sudden processes that the busy brains of us went through, we're the ones pumping that out. You sit in a line, suddenly you put an idea in someone else's head. You don't know what you did. They went a different direction. You'll have no idea. Neither do they. But we did it. It's not our fault. It doesn't make us good, doesn't make us bad. It's just something that's going on. So and look at where's the unconscious gate in this head center. When you look at the head ajna configuration, we're looking at 4 gates. One of them's unconscious. Which one is it?
Is it 47?
It is 47. That means the oppressiveness of the conceptual factory that is the ajna. The ajna is here to make concepts. The head centers there just pressuring the making of the concepts. That's all. So the pressure of doubt, the pressure of confusion, all gets funneled through this 47. And that 47 means I am oppressed with too many things because the abstract channel is creative and it is experiential and it's meant to be abstract for a reason. And what it does is it's like film, it's like 1,000 little film clips. Take the beautiful film in the old cinema, throw it up in the air and chop it all up. We're never going to be able to watch that film again. However, the abstract being with this channel has all those film clips settled in there. You're constantly putting them back together in separate ways. Oh, look at the movies this way. Oh, that movie's a little demented. Oh, this movie's really sweet. Oh, that movie's like a mess. I don't even know what that is. Oh, I now know what it is. I just had a realization because I put a bunch of things together. And that
Yeah, that part makes a lot of sense because I feel like a lot of times, especially like recently, since I've been more into like human design and like astrology and just trying to see all these different patterns, like I'll pick up pieces here and there, but then it's like all at once stuff will click, and I'm like, I like feel like I have to take time to like process it because it's like so much at once sometimes, but it's like
right,
collecting
right.
these little pieces of evidence along the way.
Right, and those little pieces keep getting added up, and you ever notice you're too confused to put all the pieces together most of the time
Yeah,
until you have the realization. When that realization shows up, it's powerful. You've just added something new to the matrix, to here on earth, and it is quite new. Now the rest of your form comes in. You're a manifestor. That will be of impact to the people who are correct for you. You will impact them. You will move something. Things will become initiated because of that. Your cross of planning will suddenly make it friendly. Your and communal, and in a community where it's of use to people. You know what I'm saying? And you're there to be supportive with all of that. So you're doing an important job. You got a busy ass, chart here. There's a lot of definition. You're a busy girl, and at the same time, it's almost a vessel of love in here at the same time. And so you add all that up, that confusion is meant to stay confusing until it comes to a realization. So now you can learn to surrender. It's not oppressive. You know you're confused. That's the black line. You know you have doubts. That's the black line, the 63 and the 64. Why isn't it solving itself? Why isn't it solving itself? Surrender, my child. It solves itself because it's unconscious. The solving comes out of a tunnel, not on your timing, on the timing of the vehicle, the body, and its chemistry. And suddenly,
what a relief.
some what so now you can surrender. By the way, my configuration is identical to this as it relates to the top part, except it's my 64 that's unconscious and my 47 that's conscious. So
Oh, wow.
I know I'm always working on the realization. I'm going to realize something soon. I got to have this thing. It's so confusing. I can't think of anything. I'm just confused. When I finally surrendered to the fact that someone says, Dan, what's wrong? I'm like, oh no, I'm confused. Oh, let me help you. Don't you try and help me. Get out of my head. Or say something if you want, but don't be mad when I don't listen to it because I'm busy being confused. Confusion. What was that Chinese guy's name? Confucius? That wasn't an accident. The confusion is this divine experience that brings everything to the table and allows you to suddenly miraculously come to the awareness that assuages the doubt and realizes for the rest of us what the amazing idea that has backed with details that's about to get explained. That's you. That's who you are.
Man,
You're not, and
no pressure.
you're nothing else as it relates to that. You're not all the other things you might try and lump onto that. To that, give yourself crazy and keep the oppressiveness there. As soon as you don't surrender to the oppressiveness of being confused and not having the realization yet, as soon as you don't surrender to that, it will stay. When you do surrender to that and say, oh, I'm just oppressed a little bit for a while. Don't be oppressed, Kara. We love you. You can't help me. You can just love me and give me my space and don't try to influence me. That's your favorite thing.
Yeah,
Don't influence me. Don't tell me what to do. I'm a second line. I'm a hermit. I'm in a
yeah,
little shell. Don't try to influence me. I'll tell you when I'm influenced. And when the right
yeah,
influence comes, you'll be called and you'll make the podcast and you'll take the job and you'll make the impact in all of the things that are supposed to happen out of this manifestor body of yours. Remember, the body informs the mind. Even though the mind is doing all this work of going through doubt and confusion and coming up with realization, it's still God's work in its own way, and it's still the body's chemistry. It's not a mental construct, it's the body's chemistry, even though it's happening in the brain and all that. So this is the beauty of you, and you're doing this strategically. So when strategically you can't come to the right realization, rest, my child. Surrender to the little inner Buddha that says, I don't know. I don't know. When will you know, Kara? Apparently, when I know. That's when you'll know. So
so does
that's
it
a hell
make
of a
sense that my podcast doesn't have a schedule now since it's just supposed
totally
to
makes
wait
sense.
for the inspiration?
Right. Until it does. And when it has a schedule, if you help create the schedule, that schedule is going to be loaded with details, well explained, covering all the ideas and getting rid of all the doubts that needed to get rid of. If not all of them, it'll be a work in progress that you'll totally be able to flow with.
Yeah,
So learn to trust
headed
this.
that direction.
trust that confusion not being solved. Just trust it and be like, oh my God, I'm about to get wicked intelligent because something's going to pour out sooner or later. Something's going to pour out. And when you really trust it, you'll be like, there's only ever weeks in between these things, days, hours, sometimes just a few minutes. Unless it's for profound things. Relationships do this to us. It could take a whole year to understand. But if you're getting mad in a relationship, it's no good for you. If you can't make an impact in that relationship, it's no good for you. If they don't want to hear you, it's no good for you. Moving on to your emotional definition is what I'm doing. It's all unconscious. So holistically, you're this emotional being that has a 1222 that is so passionate. It wants its romance. Please give me romance. Please make me know that I want this. If I don't want it, I can't even tell if there's a romance or a passion or something worth listening to. I will be melancholic. I don't feel like listening to you. There's nothing worth listening to. There's nothing worth saying. When you find yourself in that position, that's not the right man for you or girl, or whichever way that works for you. That's not the right relationship. Same thing with work. Same thing with your way through this world. This unconscious channel, remember, it's unconscious. You have a hard time identifying with being emotional, moody, melancholic, but you are all the time, and you don't even want to admit it. Right.
Feeling called out. Feeling called out.
I am. This is pretty rude. No, I'm just kidding.
But Carol, you don't care. You're perfect. You're perfect. You don't trust me. You don't care. Ultimately, you truly.
Yeah. No, I do. I love it. I love having something that can be like, hey, here's what's up. Here's why you are the way you are.
And so moody melancholic means that you have to be in the mood because the manifesting channel you have here more than anything, you have one manifesting channel, 1222. You have one truly manifesting voice. Motors don't connect to anything else as it relates to getting to that voice, to that throat center. 12 says, I know I can if I'm in the mood. It's a voice. I know I can if I'm in the mood. And that's what it says. By the way, strategic people write things down. You keep writing. It's true. No,
I'm also Virgo.
No, we need you to write it down because the right arrowed people don't write stuff down.
This is true. I never write stuff down. I'm like, if it's important, it's in there.
No, strategic people, they write stuff down. They got the same notebook. They keep it in order. We write stuff down and we lose it. It's on a sticky. We don't go back to it. Anyway, so, and we need that. It's a yin and yang balance. We always need it, with either side being the yin and the yang. Anyways, this moody, melancholic want, it says want. So here's something that that will make you confused until you come to the realization that you want it. If you're not coming to realizations that you want it, then let that be a powerful keynote. Want. I can't tell if I want. You'll know if you want because the manifesting channel and that manifesting voice will say, I know I can. Never mind, I know I can. I can. I am doing because I know I can do because I'm now in the mood. This is all recording, right?
Yes. Unlike our very first stream.
Recording.
which was such a bummer. We lost that first stream. So we'll have to repeat that again at some point.
Are you guys going to put this in a podcast form too?
At some point. At some point when I have the manpower. Right now, it's me.
Yeah. No, until then, don't you dare, Moana. I can't have you burning out. You do as little as you possibly can, please, because that keeps
the nicest thing you could have ever said to me.
Right. I know, that sounds wonderful.
Well, how else do we respect our non-sacral beings unless we say things like this? Because I want your impact. Your impact is far more important than your slavery. Far more. And we think we want the slavery out of the worker, don't we? We don't. We want their love. We want their way to be honored, period. So now you need to know, now you get to know, I can't tell when I'm in the mood. It's unconscious. I can't tell until it comes out of a tunnel. Remember understand, the black lines, activations, are what we know. They're like the road. We can sit by the roadside and interact with that road. We can see the cars going by. We can see the participants. We can see there's a bend up ahead. The red lines are like a tunnel. We can't see what's coming out of that tunnel. And when you're in the tunnel, you can't see what's about to happen on the way out. All you see is a little light at the end of the tunnel. But
Such a
when you're
great analogy. Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm
sitting on
like,
the road, yes. So when you're sitting on the roadside watching, you can't tell what's going to come out of that tunnel. You can tell what's on the road because you're seeing it. That's the personality black lines. The red lines, unconscious design side, that which the body was imprinted with, the physical body, 88 degrees of the sun prior to birth, that stuff comes out of a tunnel. And as it comes out of a tunnel, you can't know. It's a little old lady on a tricycle. It's Godzilla. It's a couple of tandem trucks. What is it? Is it a biker gang? Who is it? It's a pride parade holding it. It's the peace marchers holding up traffic because they're protecting the environment. Who knows what's coming out of that tunnel? You can't tell until it emerges. That's the point. Surrender to that. Just like gate 47, you don't know when the realization shows up. It emerges out of nowhere in a moment.
so like, since that 1222 is unconscious, and you said it's like my strongest or only, I can't remember how you described
That's
it.
your
It's the only channel, right? The only
that's the
manifesting channel
manifesting channel.
throat.
Yep. That's
So
your
like, what
one.
does that mean? Do I need to like talk about how I'm
Well,
feeling, or
let me
like, what does
practice,
Yeah.
that
Danny.
mean?
Let me practice. I think I got it because I'm like
Oh,
in
yes, honey.
student mode while he's going on his teaching. So,
Yes,
from
the
what
apprentice.
Please,
the
both of
apprentice
you.
wants. Okay, so you can again add on if you think I haven't
Start
sufficiently.
talking, Moana. Start talking.
Okay, so what makes a manifester is the motorized throat. And what that means is we have a throat connected to a motor center. So you are an emotional manifester, which means your motor is your solar plexus to your throat. That's the connection. So your connection, the only connection to your throat coming out of your solar plexus that's direct is your 1222. So when it means manifesting channel, that means it's the channel of your throat. Because manifestation comes in the human design realm from when you speak stuff out loud. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
so I get that part, but I'm like, the
hmm
1222 part, how does that
hmm
apply to this?
Let's get to
Like,
the
what
meat
does
of
that
it.
mean?
Can I take over? Or do you want to say a little more, Moana?
Again, this is me just like paraphrasing what I think I understand. So the 1222 part is your connection, right? It could have been any other configuration, but for you specifically, it's 1222. And the thing that makes it interesting is that it's all unconscious. It's not
It is.
Yeah,
conscious.
and I guess I'm just
What does
like,
that
what
mean?
is
She
the
wants.
1222? Yeah, like, I wanna
Let
know,
Oh,
me. Let
what
like,
me.
does that
what that
exact
means for
channel mean?
me.
That Danny can take over.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Moana. I needed that. So
I'm a pop
the
up.
1222 is a channel of openness. It's a design of an emotional being, a being that planes along in an emotional wave, not knowing if they're in the mood for sure until they are. And when they are, they suddenly can. It's based on 22 is the gate of called grace. It's the gate of listening. It's about the grace to physically listen to the other, which you hate doing sometimes because you're a manifestor and you just want to finish their sentence for them and hurry up and talk. Is that true? You recognize that,
Uh,
right?
Sometimes, yeah, and I'm just
Yeah, that's
like,
okay.
I'm literally trying to go back to school for counseling. So
No,
I'm
don't.
just like,
Never go back to a counselor again. Come here because you are your own
no,
counselor, just
I'm
like
talking
your
about
own
me
healer.
being the counselor,
Oh, oh,
not me going.
then please go to counseling school and bring this with you so that you can actually heal people instead of not. Um, um,
Yeah, that would be the goal.
What it's doing is the emotional wave here is trying to find where it is emotionally at peace and feeling clear so that what it manifests, suddenly what it knows it can do, it does. And it can't know until it hears the right things. This is the gate of our hearing. This is 22 is the gate of the left ear. And it's hearing emotionally. Did I like it? Was that smooth? Does that fit what I want? Does it feel good? This is the channel of feelings in a way, because it wants to feel. This channel wants to feel deeply. And if it doesn't, if there is no grace to be had because the person isn't listening and you don't want to listen to them anymore, then you cannot manifest a meaningful relationship with them. It will not happen. And suddenly that mood goes down. And when it starts to go down, the emotions here go do what the emotional wave is supposed to do. It cycles between pain and pleasure, happy and sad. It cycles between, joy and despair. It cycles up and down. And because this is a manifesting channel in you, it will plane along and be sort of even, but you're aware that, oh my God, I always have these emotional things. I don't know when they're going to happen because they come out of a tunnel. They don't, I don't see it coming as it relates to my moods, as it relates to, I really care about this person. Do I want to hear what they're saying? Does it feel good to me? These are all questions that keep going on. And suddenly your confusion factory feels oppressed. And now you think you're overthinking it. You're not really overthinking it. You're just starting to witness that emotional down into certain amounts of despair makes you more intelligent. It's not bad. It's a cycle between happy and sad. We've been taught sad is bad. Oh, you're sad. What's the matter, honey? People will say our parents love us. They want to help you. What's the matter, honey? If they saw your design and knew, right, they wouldn't say, what's the matter? They would say, I see you're sad, sweetie. If I'm your dad, I'd be like, no, honey, you're just sad. It just means you're about to get smarter real soon. You could have internalized that as a 4 and 5 and 6-year-old and been through that cycle in minutes. So where now, as we're adults, all conditioned, it takes a year to get through that cycle, or a month, or a week, or days. You would have been far more attuned to getting through those cycles quickly, because going down from hope to despair. When you go down into that despair, and please do not try to deny the despair part of your life. You have it sometimes, and it's correct for you.
Yeah.
And it's correct for you. When you get down there, have you noticed it never stays? You always come back up sooner or later. So you got this 35 or 6 or whatever years on this planet, it has never not come back up. Now you can know through the diagnostic mechanics of the chemistry ordained by your genome from birth, so you can't change it. It's there. Just like your hair is blonde and your eyes are whatever color, and you're a girl. You can't change those things. That's how you were born. This is there too. And so every time you go down, you can start to realize, oh, I realize it came out of a tunnel. I still hate it because I'm going down, and it feels despairing and it feels sad and I don't like it, but I guess I'm about to get smarter and it's going to come back up. And
Yeah, that's
suddenly,
been me this past, like, year or 2 has been exactly that, going through that tunnel.
right, suddenly you start to realize quickly, you will start to realize this is a powerful tool. Now I know I still hate it, but as I get better at it, I hate it less. And as I get better at it, it moves quicker. And as I get better at it, I can start to see and come to realizations as to what this is really going to make me smarter about. And suddenly the wave shortens up and the intelligence heightens. The emotional wave and the chemistry of our emotional solar plex is something that humanity, the forces and the gods, or whatever you want to call that, has decided humanity has to come to peace with, because half of us have it and half of us don't. And it's about the only thing that split basically 50-50 right down the line. The next closest thing is sort of the G center, which would make sense. But this half of us that have it, you start to realize as you go down, you get more emotionally intelligent. And the half of us that don't have it are here to experience that emotional intelligence. It's called clarity. It's the one keynote that supersedes them all and fits it. It's called clarity. And it's not perfection. We'll leave logic and the spleen to come up with forms of I know and perfection and guaranteed. Clarity isn't there to give us a guarantee. It's there to give us mostly, because we're plenty good at navigating with mostly. Hey, you got enough money to do that? Well, mostly. Well, we're doing it anyways. Let's go. Hey, do you know all the details to get the whole thing done? Mostly. We'll pick up the rest on the way, right? We do that as humans. We're good at that. Mostly. Sometimes it's really clear. Don't get me wrong, but very often it's mostly clear. And until you feel clear, you haven't gone up, down, and back up again. That's what the cycle gives us. It's the process of emotional clarity and awareness over time in a wave. And that wave cycles up and down through hope and pain. That hope and pain is really, if you were a child, it would just be like good and bad. You actually even more benign. You could just call it, oh, it's up and down. And if the parents of the child with an emotional definition are explaining that to them in childlike terms, the kid later and when they go to school, no, I'm just going up and down. It's great. And that's how they would see it. Oh, it's perfect. Well, you seem really sad. No, I am really sad and I want to cut your head off right now. Leave me alone. Don't try to influence me. But I'm okay. It's great. You see what I'm saying? What power
Yeah.
that is. And that's where you're supposed to be. And that's where you will be as you put this into your experiment. And for God's sakes, don't avoid it or deny it, because that's the natural tendency. Because what have we learned in all the conditioning in the world? Sadness is bad. You're always supposed to be up. You're a manifestor. You're supposed to do. Well, when you're not in the mood, you're not supposed to do. And the one channel that defines you as a manifestor says unconsciously, out of a tunnel, you will find out when you're in the mood. That's pretty abstract, and that's pretty much undefinite. You can't bank on it and you can't stick it in your calendar, right? So it's
Yeah.
off-putting. It's off-putting, and the desire is to deny it. Oh, no, that's not me. I'm good. I'm like that. Oh, I worked on that last year. I'm all good now. No, yeah, if you're dead if that's true. You're not self, and you're a non-playable character if that's true. And you're not a non-playable character. You're seeing this. You will find you laugh at it. I can't believe what I thought I was about to do. I wasn't clear on that. I'm not doing that. I'm glad I waited. The motto of the emotional is no truth in the now on anything of consequence. When it comes to, what brand of toothpaste you're going to buy, well, even that can be an emotional decision, but mostly it's not. So you don't need to wait.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I wrote down, the impact list that you'd
Right.
mentioned, like making a list of who's impacted by your decision when it's like a big decision or
When
whatever.
it's especially the bigger the decision, the more you make, and then that helps you get to clarity, because emotionally, you may not emotionally be ready to quit that job. That doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you're not clear yet. You don't know who you're going to impact. Maybe your best friend is there and you're like, no, I'm not willing. And you're very supportive. You're emotional supportive. You got this beautiful ego there. You're not ready to stop that. You're going to make sure they're good before you move on. That's okay for you. That's not you being a pushover and a chump. That's you living out your design. You will never suffer for having been supportive to the other. You will only suffer when they're not supportive back and you stayed in it. Did you miss some of that while you were playing with your earbuds? Because I'll repeat that. Oh, I can't hear you. You're turned off.
Yeah, we lost her sound.
But did you hear that? Yeah.
She heard it, but we just can't
Good.
hear
That's
her.
all good. So
I was gonna roll over. So, for a fun fact for everyone who doesn't know, this show would not be happening if Kara didn't get me into human design. She was the one who was like, no. You need to look at this. And when I first looked at my body graph, I'm like, it's a bunch of shapes, bunch of numbers, bunch of colored lines. What am I even looking at? This is super confusing. And I was ready to leave it there. I'm like, no. I'm good. I'm good. And she's like, no. You gotta look into this. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is really good stuff. And then only at her persistence did I go back. And then, so I think we mentioned this on our first show, and this is the part that's absolutely tragic because no one has any way of viewing it. Is I found Danny through his old channel. And for all of those people who do not know, one of my guilty pleasures is celebrity gossip. I'm a giant chump for it. I can't get enough of it. And Danny did a reading on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And I'm like, this is so juicy.
it's
I
one of
wish
the
I had a
readings that
bucket
got
of
me kicked
popcorn.
off, by the way. It's one of the readings I'm quite sure that got me kicked off.
It was the royal family. We can blame the royal family.
Those guys don't want me spilling their stuff live on YouTube, and I was doing
Right.
it for all of
But
them. And
we
then I realized they didn't like it.
we
Whatever.
exist because of that. So it's Kara getting me into it, and then there's Danny doing things that got him in trouble, and all of that beautifully came together to make this channel. So I am super excited to do a thing that we did on our first show where we look at both my chart, and this time it's Cara, our guest, and you can tell us in what ways do we work well together, and in what ways can we improve, and whatever else you think we should know.
Well, I was nowhere near done with her chart, but that'll go
Oh,
on for a
sorry.
while. Kara, can
Yeah,
I read for you offline afterwards
Yeah, I
at
would
a
love
time?
that. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's the
absolutely.
juice we have to get into. We can never just stay on the surface. We got to get to the juice,
Yeah.
especially the things that are
Well, and
here,
clearly I love the juice, right? It's in my
right?
chart.
Yep. No, you do. Well, so when I put your two charts together, so you know what, Kara, by the way, thank you. So you impacted the stubborn one over here and you got her to move. I love that. Well, you are 4-1. You don't move unless someone makes you.
oh
Um,
really, I didn't know that. I thought I was a pushover.
well, that too in certain ways, but not to actually do a thing, to fake doing a thing.
Fake
Um,
doing a thing, got it.
so anyways, we're looking at this chart. That picture's in the way. You've got a right arrow on your head center, right? I mean, in the personality, that top arrow underneath the number 6 is, yeah, that points to the right. Anyway, what am I looking at here when I put these two charts together? Well, first of all, the things that we fill in for the other. So right now, when it comes to emotional clarity and emotional awareness, you guys fill in this whole stream, tribal stream that is very sensitive to the commitments it's going to make. So you guys have to realize you got to make the right commitments to each other. Don't make half-ass commitments to each other. If you do, it's a recipe for both y'all getting pissed at each other sooner or later. Which, by the way, if you get pissed at each other, just recognize that's okay. Don't ever allow yourself to think you're actually don't like the other. It's not. You're just not going to work together if that's what happens. Allow it and stop putting reasons and making it personal. It's not. Neither one of you is a jerk. Both of you are you. So I'm just saying this out loud because you've already been along far enough to where you might accidentally have made the wrong commitments to each other. That's all I'm getting at.
Hmm.
Um, do you think you've made the right commitments to each other, or you don't know yet?
I mean, I think it's been the right commitment. It seems to be going well.
Moana, do you feel the same?
It depends on how I'm feeling.
Okay. Well, so you guys should talk about that, and you guys can do this. You guys can impact each other by enumerating the commitments. Don't shy away from enumerating them and pick a small list so that you're not making a detailed list, because you with all the details over here and her with all the experiential wave going on might make like 1,000 details and it's too much.
Ooh,
So
That's
pick
too
two or
much.
three,
That sounds like us.
or just
overcommit, overcommit.
pick a couple of things that are commitments you are making and decide that you are or are not making them. So that, because listen, it's just as easy as we're waking up to our nature. It takes 7 years to decondition all the cells in our bodies out of the old way into what we truly are. Don't think this happens overnight. What happens
Mhm.
overnight is seeing it and being excited and starting to wake up. And in the first year of doing this, you're so much farther ahead and healthier. But it does take 7 years for the actual cellular conditioning to go away. And I hope everyone on this podcast here recognizes how important the water of the cells are. I mean, it holds memory. That's just true. So make those commitments. Decide on the 2 or 3 easiest ones and decide, can you live with them? It's wicked important. It's wicked important for you, Kara, because this ego you have, the ego you have is prone to suddenly being a slave to doing the work. So you've learned to shy away from being a slave to doing the work. That's what the channel of Community 3740 does. It says, I'm the nihilist. I'm going to do the work. I feel called, but I don't feel called enough. So I'm going to fake doing the work by accident, on purpose, sorta. And here comes the open ego person that just agrees, oh, I'll do all the work. I'll try to do all the work. I think I want to do all the work, and she doesn't want to do any of it.
Ooh,
Both of you
Oh,
have
so
this.
called out.
You're not,
yeah.
guys. I'm glad you're laughing at it. This
Yeah,
is
I mean, it is hilarious.
it's freaking hilarious, dude. It's a freaking comedy show. It's a fucking shit show if we let it be, and it's a beautiful symphony of, oh my God, I'm not gonna let my friend do this to herself or to me. And you'll both do that for each other. Keynoted with find 2 or 3 commitments you are willing to abide by. Period. Keep it simple so that you don't have to go through a bunch of confusion. You don't have to go through a bunch of not knowing. You don't have to go through a bunch of pressure, because right now, as it stands, Moana will put you under pressure, Kara. She's got a defined route, and
I
there you
feel
are with an
that.
open route. There you are with an open route,
Yeah,
Moana.
you
No,
do.
that's not my pressure. That's not my
I like
pressure.
to think of it as grounding.
I know. I was like, what are you talking about?
Well, it is grounding is the thing. That pressure is incredibly grounding, as she helps keep the pressure field steady. But with an you're just as likely to amplify that pressure into too much pressure and losing track of trying to be in a hurry. So suddenly Moana
Yeah.
comes along with the thing to do. Hey, can we do this thing? And suddenly your day is in a hurry to get rid of the pressure of, do I want to do that? I don't even know if I'm in the mood to do that. Moana, you have to ask her, hey, have you thought, are you clear? You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, this is good.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
So
This now
Moana,
I know. I had no idea. I'm like, are you in the mood? You're not?
right?
Okay, cool. Circle
And
back when you are.
well, the thing is, and then Kara, it's up to you to recognize you don't know when you're going to be in the mood to whatever. So you then have to preempt it. Don't wait for Moana to come back, because she's a manifestor. She'll come back. She's trying to make an impact. She's doing, and part of the doing will be come back to you. So if you don't know you're in the mood, the next day say, Moana, I can't tell when I'm going to be in the mood for this. So Moana is off of red alert trying to get you. She does it to me, by the way, and she puts me under fucking pressure. And I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. So
Hey, pick up your phone.
yes,
Pick up your phone.
yes. So from yesterday's missed call, and I realized a missed call, until today's call, I was under pressure. When is Moana going to call me? And I'm going to have to now do something. I don't feel like I'm a 2-4 like you. I don't feel like I'm not in the mood. I have a gate 12 that knows it can or not if it's in the mood, just like you do. I have a gate 16 that is or isn't enthusiastic. I have a gate 20. I have these gates that you have. I understand them all too well. We're all self-absorbed, concerned with our own little trip in the now. Leave me the hell alone mostly. Except call me out when I want to be excited and keep me involved, because I don't want to lose out. That's a conundrum. And the only way to get through it is for Moana's pressure to be allowed, so that you can then turn back in and say, hey, I'm feeling under pressure and I can't tell if I'm in the mood, or I'm totally in the mood. We're doing this. Biatch, get your freaking headphones on. We're going live. Whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Because those moments will come too. So Moana, you're looking to see, when does Kara really feel called? And Kara, you're looking to see, I don't have to worry about my confusion on it all. I feel called. I'm just going to power through, or not. Remember, I know I can or not. All the voices of the throat have or not to it. Actually, all the gates have or not to it. I know I'll be supportive or not. I know I'm in the mood or not. So you both got to get in the habit of just open the book and look at each other's as gates and ask them the or not of the question about any one of their gates, so that they can find out if it is the or not part. See, we as humans think our old 7-centered way wants us to only strategically think we're always supposed to be in the mood, and we're always supposed to, where there is no or not. It's always is. And we're on, because that's what they taught us in 7-centered bullshit school. And
Needs to be on a T-shirt.
yeah,
7-centered bullshit
school. Yeah, I'm from the school of bullshit, 7-centered bullshit hard knocks, because it is hard knocks. And back to you, you need to understand, she's got Moana, Kara's got an incredibly experimental way. You're loaded with all these third lines. You got third line nodes on both sides. Am I reading that right? Yeah, third line, 63 nodes. They're all third lines. The third line is experimental, experiential. It's bumping into it. It's making its trial and error process turn into something that becomes, always gets back up. So you knock Kara down, and she's like, I'm staying down. I'm staying the hell out. I don't want anything to do with those people. But her nodes say, oh, I got to get back up. I'm getting back up. I'm moving back into the thing. And you wonder why you sustain. And then you wonder why you pain yourself over having sustained at a thing. You got to realize, sometimes I'm not in the mood to sustain. My impactor is done impacting. It's freaking tired. It's done. I'm going to my confusion home, where I'm happy reading a book and then doing something and then playing my instrument, and then getting on the computer, and then calling my boyfriend, and then hanging up when I don't want to hear what he has to say anymore. And that's perfect for you. And Moana is like, hey, I don't really have that going on with me. I'm getting stuff done. I have nodes that are second line nodes. I get called into things, and I love that. I'm sometimes a little role model. I'm doing all these things. I'm trying to experience this new way with clear amounts of pressure. I don't put myself under pressure. I make the pressure. I'm good with the pressure. Let her be good with her pressure. Don't take it personally. Moana's not putting you under pressure. You're not under any pressure. You have an open root center. There is no pressure. Now, I tell you there's no pressure. Do you believe me? No.
No.
Because it's brand new to your experiment. That's not your pressure. Do you know how hard it is for me to sit there and tell someone else, hey, that's not my pressure? No, it's different because I have an open root too. Not my pressure. What do you mean it's not your pressure? Not my
Yay.
pressure. I'm living through it. And what becomes the wisdom, Kara, for us is the wisdom of the recognition of what is the right pressure for us. Because every once in a while, because of that channel that's manifesting and the romance and the passion that comes through there when it is in the mood and it knows it can do, suddenly it's the right pressure for you. And girl is off freaking running because that's good pressure. And suddenly you meet the right man. Are you currently in a relationship with somebody?
I
Like here?
am. He's a
Okay.
generator and he has all of the centers that I don't.
Okay, so that's not your pressure, by the way. When he puts you under pressure, it's not your pressure. And all I'm getting at with that is when it is the right pressure for you, your boyfriend can say, honey, I love you. I'm ready to leap. Do you want to jump over this ledge with me? And you go, uh-huh, that's right pressure for me. Let's leap. Let's do it. Whatever that thing is. Or not, by the way. And so as a 2-4, and he says to you, sweetie, do you love me? You get to tell him and school him, mostly. That's not a very romantic answer, is it? But it's true half the
No.
time. Sometimes that's the answer. It's like, I can't tell. I'm a little confused. Mostly just, I'm collecting details. I'll let you know when I know. But it's mostly I'm not going anywhere, and then you guys can make love about that later and suddenly that'll fix everything because he's a generator and he just wants that anyway. So part of what he wants. Well, I
Perfect.
mean,
The
as long
perfect
as he's
plug.
under, well, if he's under 50, that's what generators do. You know what I mean? We don't know why. We're waiting for your emotional clarity, by the way. The juice isn't in the generative box. The juice is with you two ladies that give us emotional clarity. I made jokes like this when I read for you and your husband over and
Yeah.
over again. I was like, I've just looked at the charts. I was like, oh, David's in love with you. Oh God, David can't get enough of you. He wants that experiential crash rate. Crash me, baby. Crash me harder. That's David sometimes. It's addictive. And is your boyfriend emotional too? Does he have an emotional definition? Or is he open
My
emotional?
he's my husband. Let me look at
Okay,
his
you
chart.
guys
I
are
can't
married.
remember. I should know. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
No, he's saying you look young.
Wait,
Yeah, I think
what?
I've been
Oh,
boyfriends and
thanks. Oh my
girlfriends.
God,
I
thanks.
did. That was I made an assumption. That's funny.
No, it's totally fine. Why can't I get his chart to pull up? This is annoying. It's like the one
So
time I need
while
it.
while she does that, I was wondering, Danny, so how does her defined ego and my completely open ego affect each other?
You have to not concern yourself that the defined ego roars. It roars, it leaps, it fights, it wants to leap into things, it needs to control certain things. You have to
Mm,
not care. You got nothing to prove.
okay.
And she's under no pressure. So as soon as you feel like you have to do more because you have to prove something, that's your open ego trying to compete with the defined ego accidentally. We open egos are constantly competing with the defined egos. We didn't know we were doing it.
So is that what you were meaning by like, oh, I'll just do everything, it's fine?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so
Uh,
when you're in the mood and suddenly you're generating that sprinter speed of when you're manifesting that sprinter speed of the manifester, please do keep doing. You love that. But you've been in your experiment long enough to know you're about to rest and to see it a little bit in advance and obey her. She is Mother Earth. She is the true yin. Your rest inside of you is is half the yin that you need to know. Obey her.
I thought you were
Rest.
saying obey Kara, and I'm like, well,
No,
she is mostly defined, I guess.
no, obey the rest. The rest.
Completely
No, Kara,
misheard that.
you only obey Kara. You guys end up being obedient to each other wherever
Yes,
your strengths
boss.
lie. And so
Whatever you
I
say,
would ask
boss.
both of you to surrender to this term of obedience, we'll call it, but please, 9-centered, awake and aware communal obedience, not 7-centered bullshit freaking obedience like a slave. The obedience is to the honoring. We're obedient to honoring the other is really the best way to put that, and that's proper. So wherever your strengths lie, one of the things you should do with each other is attempt to find out where the strengths are going to be, so you see what these just 1 or 2 or 3 commitments you're going to make. No more than 3. Make a holy trinity of commitments to each other, no more, and then see if you keep them. And no blame if you don't. Blame, shame, and guilt is the old way. That's the bullshit old school. Just be like, I guess it was the wrong commitment, we didn't know, now we do. That's okay. Or it's the right commitment, it's working, we're killing it. One of those 2 things will show up, and both of them are just in the awareness of how you guys operate as manifestors becomes the ability to not be mad at the other guy if it doesn't work. How many times is, that was suck, they're stupid, I'm not, and suddenly we think we have a negative view of the other. That's bullshit. We don't want to. We just see, they weren't in the mood. That wasn't the right thing for them. You know what? She's not emotionally clear. And so it's not going to work. And I'm talking to both of you on that. You're both emotionally defined. It's the wrong pressure. It's the wrong thing. It's the wrong set of variables. Or it's the right set. You'll find out as you start to do this when you come up with 1, 2, or 3 commitments you're willing to make. The second line individual would like to keep it small at 1. And the 4-1 profile investigating would like to at least try 2 or 3. So you guys can roll.
Sounds about right. Let's try this other thing. Let's try this other thing. I don't know, man.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Are you sure you don't know?
Well, no, you see what we just did? We just refereed a thing that could have been a big fat problem. The second line is always going to try and do less. Essentially, it's always going to, because it doesn't know. Dude, think about what the second line does. You've seen how I've learned human design. How much better is this world off because I did that freaking crazy ass psycho thing for 14 years, understanding human design. 15 now, over 15.
Over 15.
The world is way better off
Dang.
if I am me. However, I had to be called into that. That was a calling. And everything else was, I don't care. So when I started getting into human design, suddenly I didn't care about anything else. And I was like, don't try to influence me. I'm busy learning this thing. Don't tell me what to do. I don't want to hear it. You're talking. Stop talking to me. I love you, but I'm only pretending to listen. See the heads nodding, but it's empty up here. I'm someplace else. And Kara is prone to that. You've got to not dislike yourself for it. So other people start talking. Everyone's got an idea, right? Everyone's got opinions. Everyone's got stuff. And suddenly you're only open. The grace to listen in your body graph is only open long enough to catch, are you still in the mood for it? And after that, you start tuning out and the nodding. Because we're all 4th lines here. The 4th line abdicates. It's polite. It's friendly. It wants to keep the people in the network. It's never going to be out and out rude unless it really has to be. You know what I mean? And that's usually fighting words, struggling fighting words. Other than that, we're not. Yeah, no, I understand. We're always saying, and it's not untrue. We do understand. We just don't want to. The second lines don't want to. We don't want to. We got this beautiful shell around us, and you're a manifestor, so it's a double shell, keeping you protected from the influence of others, especially as it relates to intimacies. It's intimate to be in a relationship with Moana because you have to do stuff. That's an intimacy. Hey, I'm a little private about all that. I'm in a shell. You're going to have to scratch my shell and pull me out so I can be called. And when you're called, you'll do all the right things. It's hard to work with a 2-4 at first because we don't necessarily know. And plus, we'll say what's good when we don't know if it's good. And it's until we awaken to our design. Hey, I don't know if it's good. I'm emotional.
Hey, but
yeah, I don't know.
That's our channel name, if you didn't remember, Danny.
Yeah, Yeah, no, we recorded it because I don't remember what I just said. I have no idea.
You just said the channel name without even realizing it. Awaken to your design. It's like, but
Oh,
that's our design.
did I
That's our
say
channel
that?
name. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I can't tell
That
what I
needs to
do.
be clipped.
That's
That would
another.
be a genius clip.
Yeah, probably.
Listen to Danny's talk about our channel without even knowing he just talked about our channel.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. Is we need to awaken to this thing, and we need to give our second line hermits all the space in the world to take the time to come out of our little hermit shell and say, "Okay, I'll be called or not." Because to try and hurry that person along is to get the abdicator in the fourth line that just says yes, okay, when we didn't really mean it, or we didn't mean it enough. And because you guys are both emotional, each and every one of your decisions should not be based on speed, because all manifestors want to go fast. You guys are all like the Ricky Bobby story. I want to go fast. You all want to go fast, but you're emotional. So, and you're making decisions about a project you're working on, whatever. I don't even know what it is, but whatever it is, you're making decisions. Why don't you guys say, hey, well, listen, we're going to try and make this commitment. Here's a couple commitments. And then the other one will say, well, I have this idea for one. Okay, now let's think about it. We'll reconvene in a week or a few days or tomorrow or whatever. And do reconvene even when you still don't know if that's the case. Because maybe you will know. Maybe you'll say, I still don't know, but enough time's gone by. I need to at least try to make this commitment to this aspect of this project. And if I'm good at it, great. And if I'm only medium at it, let's just run with it because maybe I'll decide to get better. And if I really don't want to do it, that's a sign. This might not be the right project for us. We don't know yet. Allow this don't know. Both of you are loaded down with I don't know. I don't know. The unexpected over here is don't know what feeling she's going to have. That's you, Moana. The hermit over here, that is the channel of planning, is like, if I have to plan something, that's a big deal. I'm about to spend my life doing it because I don't do anything well until I am called. The calling is like the priest. I'm going to go into the jungle and tame the savages, even though none of my brothers and sisters ever come back because we all get killed. But the calling is so strong, they still go do the thing. The kamikaze, the person who is, I'm picking drastic things, something less drastic, but it's the person who is called. And you have to be called, or else you're not in the right environment. You've got a gate 21 in your body graph, Kara. That means you have to be in a certain amount of control of your environment, period. And you already know that. Your husband knows.
Yeah, by the way, he's a 5-1 sacral generator.
Okay, what's his incarnation cross?
It is, where is it? Left angle cross of healing.
Healing. Okay, so he just came off the vessel of love. So he's just this little love bomb, and he's always trying to heal things and make things better. And as the 5-1, he totally complements your 2-4, and your 2-4 complements his 5-1. But you can't tell.
Yeah.
Because he's always looking in on things, and you're always like, you and I as 2-4s, we don't know. We like to think we know. We know what we've already known from before, but anything in the future, we don't know. We're a hermit. We're sitting we just want to be left alone until our network is calling us. And then we want to get out and play with it until we get people fatigue. And then we want to go back into our hermit shell. Your husband has to understand that in that process, if you have a gate 21 in your body graph and a defined ego, especially with the channel of community, that's all about bargains and making the right deal, that you're in control of what the colors of your family are. You're in control of what the dang environment's going to look like. You're in control certainly of, if you have kids, of what they're going to wear, and certain things of that nature, not specifically like a dictator, but generally speaking. And it when he goes against it, because you have that. Where is that gate of control? Let me tell you. Oh, look at that, gate 21. Do you have your book, Andy?
My book, I just put it away. But yeah, it's in Mars.
And it's in Mars. So gate 21, is that in Mars? Yeah.
Yeah.
So gate 21, line 2, it's in total harmony with your line 2 profile. So suddenly out of you, all line 2 things don't know. They're busy going about their own business until they are called into action. And this is about the ego willpower to fight back that which is confronting and or getting in the way of that which you know needs to be controlled. You don't normally do that until it's called out of you. And when it's coming out correctly, out comes the voice. We're not doing that. We're doing that. Da, 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 da. When it's working against you, you're submissive and saying, oh, okay, I don't want to release all that power on my husband right now. I'm just going to pretend it's not a thing. No, it's a thing. It has to come out. It sounds a little aggressive when it comes out. That's not your fault. It's not personal.
Yeah, he's very understanding about it. It's great.
It's great.
He's a healthy one.
Good. That means he loves you, and he's open emotional. So he loves this emotional juice you pour out. All of us open emotional men are addicted to our emotional women one way, shape, or form. That means the pain of it is sometimes we're addicted to hating your guts. Not really, but we think we do because we're mad about something. And that's when you can emotionally be smooth and say, honey, I know this is something that I've whatever, let it out. Because it's not personal. He doesn't actually hate something, but there's things he'll get mad enough about because his open emotional solar plex amplifies what's going on with you. The open centers amplify the defined centers. It's one of the ways we're designed to commune and be together. So when the pressure is right for me, Moana is still moving at a steady clip because she does the pressure right. But here I am talking at 100 miles an hour because it's the right pressure for me. And I'm yelling. Great. When she's off the line, I'm going to go back to my hermit shell and be like, oh, whew, I'm done. That was the right pressure for a couple hours. And it's perfect for me. I love it. I'm generating all this stuff. It's great. She put me under pressure to read for an emotional manifestor who I broke up with 4 years ago with similar design components as you. I should be afraid of you.
Oh
You
God.
know?
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh, yeah. You know, community gate 21 in a second line. She had the same thing.
Oh
You know, a couple other things that were
wow.
similar. It was awesome. You know, I loved her to death and whatever. And then, but she didn't understand her power. I didn't fully understand how to teach her. This was 6 years ago now. So I wasn't far enough along to be it. And she didn't want me to teach her. She was in control of that, you know, and so we had to fall apart in a blaze of fire. Don't let that ever happen to you. Because, well, it's true that the generator will generate a field that you cannot break down, but you can
Yeah,
break it.
burn down.
No, I'm just saying when it comes to actual conflict, don't let the conflict go because you will magnify and you will amplify his sacral motor. You will lose track of when's enough is enough trying to control that thing because you had an emotional explosion that you're not clear about. You know, that's happened to you before. Allow them, look at them, don't apologize. Don't ever apologize. Let him say and teach him to say, no, I understand. The thing happened. It's just the thing happened.
I've got that down. I'm never
Yeah.
one to apologize. It's always
Well,
David who comes to me.
well, apologizing sort of says I'm bad and I'm not good. That's not the point. You know, you can micro apologize and say, no, honey, I'm sorry. If he needs you to apologize or to feel deeply for him, that's different.
Yeah.
Do that for him. Understand he's bruised. You didn't know when enough was enough, and he emotionally amplified your juice, and he started yelling back harder than even you. And that's a thing that happened are you okay? Did we affect
Me?
you, Kara? Did we affect you, or is that
Oh no, I just like I don't know. My eyes like water and I don't know.
this
It's
is
fine.
supposed to do that to a degree? So just anyways, back to you two. Just that was a
Yeah,
thing.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I feel bad my chart is up. It should be.
No, it's okay. I don't know where to go because I'm here in the middle of a thing. And let me look at your guys' electromagnetics. Where do you guys electromagnify each
Or
other?
compromised. Either or. Do you know what a compromised channel is, Kara?
You guys have
No.
no electromagnetics.
What is
Wow.
45 and
Really?
what's 45? What does that mean? 45 and 21, does that mean it completes?
She doesn't have a 45.
Wait, who are we talking about?
We're
Me
talking about
or
you. Neither one of you have a
Oh,
gate.
wait, sorry. I don't know what I was looking at. Sorry.
I think maybe you were looking
Is
at
that your
Philip's
husband's
one.
chart? Does he have a 45?
Maybe
Let
that's what
me
you were
see.
looking at.
Off the throat center. It would connect
He
with your
does.
gate 20.
Yes, he does. He does have
Oh,
a
yeah,
Yeah,
45.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'll deal with that when I speak to you offline, because that is one of the things. That
Yes.
is one of your electromagnetics. It's a point of love and hate between you and he.
So
But it's
Oh,
zero
fire.
electromagnetics. So then what?
is that bad?
No, it's perfect because we never actually hate. It's just annoyance, but it's a point where the
Mm.
flame and the fire and the passion actually gets, it's a thing. I love electromagnetics. That's where people connect. People really find that connection.
Okay.
Interesting.
But,
But
and
like
so,
we can still connect, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
we have the
We have
opposite
overlap.
centers.
So what I
Yes.
see here in your
Yes.
design is there are lots of little compromise points. So what it really means is figure out your commitments you're going to make and then break your separate corners.
Where are the compromise channels? I point them
You
out.
have a 22 and she has the whole 12/22.
Right.
Moana.
Okay.
Moana, you
Yep.
have a 47, she has the whole 64/47. Um, you have a gate 10, she has the 20/10, the whole thing.
She
You
has
have
more channels than I do, is what
Yeah,
I'm
you
hearing.
have a gate 37. You have a gate 30. So you're beautiful with affection and listening, Moana. You're the affectionate listener. She's got the whole channel 3740 does the work. And these all come in as potential compromises if you actually had to live together. That you don't have to live
Okay, I
together.
saw them. You just
Have
like
you guys ever been
rattled them
roommates?
off.
Yeah,
No, we've never met in person.
perfect.
Yeah.
So
We're online besties.
yeah, no, stay online besties. If you try to move in together, make sure you're well into your experiment 3, 4, 5 years because you'll drive each other crazy because there's a lot of compromise here. Um,
Mm.
Potentially, until you awaken to your nature. Nothing matters when you're awake to your nature, just so you know. And awake to your nature is 7 years later because all those freaking cells in your body literally deconditioned themselves and
Mm.
recreated themselves anew and awake. I realize we think awakeness is a mental construct and it's our awareness. That is a big part of it. But the cells in our body are carrying the vibration of the old way. That's not awake to its nature. And it's always not self. Angry, not self, bitter, frustrated, overthinking, and thinking it knows the truth. It cannot. The only thing that knows the truth is the chemistry and the feelings. The clarity of no truth in the now for both of you, that's a feeling, that's a chemistry, and it shows up then as true because it's clear. So you guys both get to get clear over time in the now, in the now later as it clarity shows up. And what you can do to be supportive to each other, because you have an incredible harmony. We both have, all three of us have a fourth line. We want to network with the other. We want to see what opportunities do show up. Moana's going to investigate like there's no tomorrow. Let her. The little natural inside of you that doesn't know if it knows that it knows it's any good at anything will get called. And then it knows. And it's up to you, Moana, to not project upon her that she is a natural into something she doesn't know if she's a natural at. And it's up to you not to burn her out with investigating this and investigating that. She'll investigate what the impactor feels like investigating. And you'll both become clear that it was correct a week later as you reconvene. I would suggest one of the commitments you make to each other is that you will continue to reconvene until you figure out what commitments are going to be right. And then
I
make
like that. That is really
Yeah, I
good.
feel like we do that.
you probably are, but now you'll do it
We've
with a
been.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, just like make it a
Reframe.
regular thing to reconvene. Just
Keep
yeah.
talking.
It's pretty regular. It's pretty regular.
No, I mean like back when you were not working. Like we had it on a calendar all the time.
Yeah, I still feel like I mean, I can't do it weekly is kind of hard, but like
Yeah.
we do it pretty consistently, you know? Like
That
I
was
talk to you
like
more than almost anybody else, dude.
oh, okay.
Like,
Danny, I have a bone to pick with her. She called me her highest maintenance friend. I'm like,
what?
oh,
I'm just being real.
Hold on a second. I'm still enjoying that moment I just got off of. That was intense. So I lit up
I'm
a
not
cigarette.
high maintenance. Danny, tell me I'm not high maintenance.
You're at high maintenance. You're wonderful. Don't change. You're
You
I
perfect.
did.
didn't mean it in a bad way. I just mean
No,
like I interact with her
dude,
daily, and
dude,
there's not a lot of people that I interact with daily. It's what's not a bad thing.
It's not your high maintenance, Moana. What you are is your maintenance because you have a defined root. You create the pressure field, and the pressure literally is about
Oh.
maintaining things. Don't forget that this is
Mm.
adrenaline. It's striking a balance between fear and trust. It's there to keep a steady adrenalized flame going.
Interesting. That's all new to me. I'm like, huh, so that's what the root is doing, like keeping
The flame going,
constant,
pressure,
keep the thing going, pressure through your adrenal.
right. And so every time I
Aha.
see your phone call come through, I'm under pressure. Just know that. Oh, let me put the you know what? Play with it. I don't need anything. I just want to put you under pressure, Dan, and laugh at it. I'll be fine with that. I love that stuff.
I had nothing to get from you. I just wanted to see if you'd pick up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Oh my God, I did. Trust
You've
me. And
opened a can of worms because I will do that.
do that. Poke the bear, Moana. You're good at that. You're experiencing that. I want your emotional clarity over what is it you poked at. Trust me, it's actually healthy. This is how we commune. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and commune, take it out of the religious aspect and put it in just the human. Commune just means I want the other to be themselves. And if there's things I
Mm.
don't like about it or annoyed or whatever, I'll just go back to myself for a moment. And you know, you're already, just whatever. The phone call will end. It's no big deal. It's not personal, and we have to stop taking ourselves so seriously about certain things. We don't know. What do we know? We're just sitting here bobbing along on the ocean like everybody else. What do we actually know? So getting you in touch, I'm excited to get you to go over you and your husband, but I'm only going to do it with you unless your husband is incredibly open. I find the women steward this information in. You guys are far more intelligent, emotionally intelligent as it relates to that. The women come through with this in the first place anyways, and you guys are the shepherds and the yin of the planet. You are mother. So is he open to all of this?
Yeah, he is.
Then I would gladly get both of you on the line at the same time. Is he in his generator experiment?
No, okay, he's like open to it where like he listens to it and he like, you know, like doesn't completely he's not into it like I am, but I think he would be open to like a reading and learning more about it because I haven't like dug into his chart with him
You're the
because I
one
don't even
person he
know much
can't
about
hear.
mine.
Well, you're the one person he can't hear. When I say can't,
Yeah.
it's because familiarity always does that. As soon as you're familiar, it's like, yes, dear,
Mm.
yes, honey. It's like my kids. They didn't want to hear it from me because they knew me too well. But if I was their favorite science teacher, they'd be like, "Oh, what? Huh? Really? Oh, now that's true."
Yeah.
Because
Like we've done astrology readings together and everything and he's into like not into it, but like open to it and like resonates with it and stuff. So I think he'd be down for that too.
mm,
I've asked him
so
about it before. We just haven't like,
I can read
we've been
for him
waiting for you.
separately. Well, I can read for him separately, and I can read for you separately, and then put you together, or I can read for him separately and then bring you both in on a thing, or a little bit of some both, or whatever.
Yeah,
However it's
whatever.
going to
Yeah, that sounds
work.
good.
Because do you guys have kids yet?
I have a son. We don't have kids together yet, but
Is how old's your son?
he's 7.
We
He's
need to.
a 5'1", or yeah, 5'1" mental projector.
Okay, then I need his
Yeah,
chart. So I need to put you
I
guys
know.
together to see because now that there's three, is he in the home? He lives with you
Yeah.
guys? So
Mhm.
then your husband is essentially dad to part was dad. Well, I don't know if
Yeah.
he's dad, but he's definitely an
Yeah,
important male
he is.
figure to him.
Yeah.
Then you guys in the home, as soon as there's three, there's no longer a partnership fully. There's a penta. And when as soon as there is a penta, that is that's a form. It's a literal, just like a partnership is a beast with two backs. A penta is a form with missing gates. And when those missing gates, they become a problem. So as soon as I see your three charts together, I'll be able to say, this is what you guys are annoyed about your family dynamic. And then you
Ooh,
can start to,
okay. We need to do
yeah,
this ASAP. No, I'm just kidding.
well, no, you do. As soon as you're in the mood, you need to.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I'm always in the mood to learn more about this stuff because it's just fascinating. It helps, connect to other people better and understand yourself. Like, what could be better?
It's the best because as soon as you start to see the things that don't matter, the things that don't matter are the 3 or 4 missing gates in your penta. I don't know how many it is. Maybe it's none, but usually there's a couple missing gates. And that's where the focus goes, as if there's some kind of a problem. There's not. It's what you realize.
Ooh.
That's not me.
Is that
Did
your
you guys
kitty?
do this with Jesse?
Oh, this is the best. Hang on a second.
Oh.
Tressa, my podcast is coming to an end. I'm gonna hit you right back, and it's cool. I've got two manifestors, emotional manifestors, and we just read for both of them. It's amazing, and I will call you back. I love you, Tressa. Bye.
So
Tressa is the other manifestor, not
Tressa,
emotional.
yeah. So Tressa, I'll plug in her because she's pretty cool. She is a hypnotherapist, so she helps
She's
people
so good.
decondition
Yes. Yep.
using human design,
Wow.
and she is an ego manifestor, if I remember correctly. What was her
She's
profile?
splenic
She's splenic,
manifestor.
but she has a
6'2",
defined ego.
the cross of the spirit, 6'2", cross of the spirit, and she got a defined ego, but the spleen is defined, so she's a splenic manifestor, an ego splenic manifestor, and
So
it's
she
Well,
is Danny's #1 protege. I'm trying to knock her off her pedestal. I'm
you
just
gotta
kidding.
knock it off her pedestal.
I didn't say that.
well, I was
No, you
gonna tell
can,
you
because she
earlier
will
when we
laugh
were
at
talking
that.
about meditation, hypnosis was how I was able to break through to actually meditate, like
Yeah.
going through hypnosis.
Yep. So human design hypnotherapy is the name of her thing. Human design hypnotherapy on Instagram.
Yeah, I think I follow her,
Oh,
right?
I've shared her
Oh,
stuff. Like
Yeah.
she makes the
great.
funniest reels. Like
Yeah.
her reels,
Yeah.
I save all of them because they all make me laugh. She makes great captions. Like she's very good at what
She's
she does.
wicked
Wait,
good
she
at
has a
that.
2, of
Have
course.
Yeah, she
has
Natural.
she been
oh,
on here?
no,
No.
we're gonna bring her on. Except she's coming on. Yes.
Yeah, I was
She's
like,
got like,
Danny, we got to bring her on as a guest. It's gonna be
yeah,
dope.
she's got like 22, 3, 4, 5,000 followers on Instagram already, and it's growing. It's great. Anyways, so you guys, all you manifestors are here designed to make your impact. You don't worry about what the impact is. You just realize when you're making it because you feel at peace and you're not angry at anybody. And you can see these two things going back and forth, where the anger is just this road sign that shows me, oh, there's a chemistry coming through I need to see. You've all been doing that. Tressa does it too. And now you start to see, oh, the peace is the other side of that. I'm at peace. I like this. Is great. Yeah, I don't need anything. I'm good. That's how you know you're at peace. That sense of peace. And we need you manifestors because you guys are still impacting the way and making and us following behind in the wake of that impact. Even though the projectors are guiding things, we need that guidance. We need your impact. If all the manifestors are wake up at the same time, let's say you all did a hit of bufo alvarius and mushrooms on the same, you're all in Rhode Island in an Indian camp under a giant teepee, all 9% of you on the planet, the whole planet would change. The impact would be different, is the thing. Just like if all the generators, all 70% of us generators woke up at the same time, the generative field would stop being frustrated. Right now, planet Earth is the planet of emotional frustration and pain because of the generators. We generate a frustrated field. It's our fault. You know what I mean? But we don't know, So I could say the same about all the types essentially, but because we're the two energy types for real, generators and manifestors, if we did the deed, everything would change. We can do it in our own little neck of the woods, just by being ourselves and not giving a crap that we are ourselves. We have those limitations. We have these things. It's not your pressure, Kara. You've got nothing to prove, Moana. You don't need to look for love and direction, Moana. You don't need to find out what the bridging gates are into your body graph. They'll automatically show up in the right timing, Kara. I don't need to feel like I have to prove anything or feel safe or whatever, blah, 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 for my open centers. That's not my pressure. It's hard to say it's not my pressure, but now you can start saying, that's not my pressure, honey. You can say that to your husband, not my pressure. I realize you want me to be my pressure, but it's still not mine. And then you can find the
That's
right pressure
so
for
good.
you. Yeah, find the right pressure for you, just like I do with Moana. And Moana, sometimes you'll be like, hey, you want to do the next thing? And I'll tell you, Moana, I'm losing it. I'm not in the mood anymore. I want to leave. I'll just tell you I don't want to talk or something.
Yeah,
I'll say it out loud.
yeah. You'll be like, I have to do a thing. I'm like, okay, cool. We're done now.
Yes, because my second line, dude, our second lines, you have to realize, has this feature. It's called the bigot. And it's not bigoted at race and anything like that. It's so up close and personal to us. The bigotry is in what the other is saying. We have a tolerance. At a certain point, we become bigoted towards what they're saying, and we don't want to listen anymore. We have to accept that about ourselves.
That's a
It's
lot of
not,
line twos. I just counted them up. On
she's
her
loaded with
end,
line two. She's
there's like
loaded.
6.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and you're
A
all very,
lot.
very two-y, very, very two-y, and very
Very,
three-y.
very two-y.
You're very 2 and 3, so it's like this there's a tension inside of you because part of you sustains and wants to keep moving, and the other part of you is like, no, I need to hermit myself. I'm fatigued. My fourth line is fatigued, and my second line doesn't want to hear it anymore, and I need to go into my shell. That's why this little room you're in, I notice
Yeah,
this
for
little room,
anyone who was like wondering what 2e and 3 means, we're looking at the
1,
points.
2, 3, 4,
Yeah, I can
5
count
in her
them.
personality, and a total of 6 in the body graph. That's there's a lot of 2 going on there. So it just means the personality is weighted with a lot of 2 energy. That's the hermit. The 40 says I'm the nihilist. The 30 says I am affectionate. The 37, the 46 says, oh, I'm a little prima donna. I'm gonna get what I want the way I need it, or I'm not doing it. I have a 46 line too, just like you do. I have a lot of the same gates you do. The 62 line 2 says, I think I have all the details. They're being called out of me. Watch, I'm speaking them. I didn't know I had them all, but they're there now. That's what second lines do. The 21 line 2, we already went over that. So embrace them. Open
What
your
do those
book and
little
read.
arrows mean next to that? Like
Well,
the
they're
little
just that
arrows
they're a
pointing
little
up?
that they tend to be fixed towards the exaltation when you read the book, or they tend to be fixed towards the detriment when you read the book. They're perfect. Love your detriments. I have detriments. We all
Oh,
have them. And they look detriments
wow.
are, yeah, detriments are like a little bit of vinegar. Tell me a salad dressing is any
Okay,
good with olive oil and no vinegar. It's not. You need the vinegar. Is that true?
true.
Ah.
The horseradish. There's no such thing as a Jew holiday without a
Wow.
little bit of horseradish. You know what I mean? They need it. Um, I'm Jewish, so I can say that. So
Just to clarify.
just to clarify. So anyways, I'm done. I want to
Yeah,
go now. Can I
I
go?
know. Hey, you could have went long time ago. You were
No, I
just in a
couldn't.
groove.
I wasn't done. No,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
done.
We were
Okay.
vibing.
We were
Yeah.
vibing. So, to let our current audience know, next week we are going to do something similar to what we did today, except we are going to be showcasing projectors, and we
Hmm.
are going to have a special projector guest come on, and she might even demonstrate for us a special deconditioning exercise. We shall
Oh, I
see.
hope so.
But yes, stay tuned. We would love to see you back. And please follow the channel. It helps us out a lot. And we want to keep making these amazing streams. We have so many things planned, and we can't wait to see you next time.
I love you both. Kara, thank you for being on. I love you for being here. It was
Yes,
really
thank
special.
you.
Yeah.
This was
So
awesome.
we will catch you
I
guys
can't wait to
later.
see how this unfolds for you guys. It's awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Catch y'all later.